Welcome to a world where desire runs unchecked and justice is nothing but a fairy tale. This is the Swallow House, a place where the lights are bright but the shadows are much darker. On a night just like any other, a mysterious new guest arrives, and the atmosphere shifts instantly. As this esteemed guest steps inside, they aren't here for the usual entertainment. In fact, this visitor is no ordinary customer. One of the girls looks up in shock, sensing something different about this person. To tell you the truth, I cannot read hexagrams, the guest admits with a mysterious smile. But I can see the future. Suddenly, we get a glimpse of a different life. A girl named Suyu, and let me tell you, she was no ordinary courtesan. She was a warrior, a blur of motion and steel in the heat of battle. We see a man trembling, tears streaming down his face as he clings to her. "It's all my fault. I'm sorry I wasn't able to protect you back then," he wails. He calls her Your Highness, revealing that our girl was actually a princess in another life. What kind of extraordinary or perhaps tragic future is waiting for these two? The guest looks on with a blush, their heart clearly aching. "How can I show you how much I cherished you?" they wonder silently. As Suyu smiles back in a memory, a chilling vow echoes, "I won't let you die." But the reality we see is a blood-stained blade and a fallen warrior. The story of the banquet with deer crying is one of revenge, freedom, and the burden of knowing what's to come. Once they were just two girls sharing a laugh on a swing, unaware of the storm approaching. They were happy, carefree, and inseparable. Fast forward to the present, where the cold wind blows through the open windows of the capital. The city is alive with the scent of perfume and the sound of coin. In this den of lovely flowers, men are told they can pick whoever they want for the right price. It's a place of indulgence and song where the wine flows like water. Outside, a tiny, battered nugget of a kid approaches a wealthy-looking man. Mister, could you spare some coin?" he begs, holding out a broken bowl. "I haven't had anything to eat in daws," but the man just snaps, "Go away, you're spoiling the mood." The jerk actually kicks the poor child to the ground. The little nugget sobs as his meager coins scatter into the dirt. But then a miracle happens. Gold," the boy gasps as heavy golden nuggets land in his bowl. Our mysterious young master from earlier stands there with a kind smile. "Take it and get yourself something good to eat," he says gently. The young master is absolutely stunning, with an air of nobility that can't be hidden. The women of the house immediately swarm him, swooning over his kindness and his handsome face. "What a handsome young master. I admire a man who is kind and charitable," they chirp, practically dragging him inside. Even the Huakui, the head courtesan and the top beauty of the house, is intrigued. She looks down from the balcony, her eyes locked on him. "Young master, would you care to honor me with your company as we talk of poetry and romance?" she asks, fanning herself provocatively. But our guy has ice in his veins. He snaps his fan shut and says, "I must apologize, please allow me to decline." The other girls can't believe it. "My lord, what about me or me?" they plead. He just gives them a smooth, savage smirk. "Though there are countless rivers in this world," he begins, "I shall drink from only ones." She's sitting alone under the moonlight, looking ethereal and melancholic. She takes a long drink of wine, the liquid trailing down her throat as she stares at the moon. There's a sadness in her eyes that tells you she's seen too much. "With this cup," she whispers, "I offer a toast to all of you." She pours the wine onto the ground as an offering. Suddenly, a tiny voice interrupts her. "Ga, have you also lost someone important?" Suyu blinks in surprise, looking down at a little girl. Where did this silly little girl come from, she wonders. The girl bows quickly. "I'm sorry for my rudeness. It's just that while watching you give wine as an offering, I was thinking of my mother." This little nugget is Xiaozao, and she's carrying a cat named Dilu. She just arrived at the house today. Suyu realizes this is a new girl. Xiaozao's story is heartbreaking. Her father lost all his money gambling at the tavern and sold everything, including his own daughter, to pay his debts. Now it's just her and her cat trying to survive in this cruel place. Suyu's heart aches for her, but before she can say a word, a hand grabs her hair. "Suyu, look at you, you're slacking off again," a woman screams. This is the madam, and she is a total nightmare. "Mama, that hurts," Suyu cries out as she's dragged along. Xiaozao looks on terrified, asking if this woman is Suyu's mother. The madam lets out a fake, chilling laugh. "I'm the madam here, which makes me mother to all of the girls. From now on, I'll be your mama as well." She strokes Xiaozao's face, promising her a carefree and happy life as long as she behaves. Her eyes, however, are cold and predatory. Suyu watches, clutching her aching ear, knowing exactly what's about to happen. Sure enough, the madam turns to a disgusting, lecherous guest. "Sorry for the wait, dear guest, here's our new girl." She pushes the terrified child forward, bragging that she's available for a great price. The creep licks his lips. "Excellent, I love when they are still tender." Xiaozao is trembling, her heart thumping out of her chest as the man lunges for her. "No, I don't want this, don't touch me," she screams, bursting into tears. Even the cat Dilu hisses in rage. So you can't stay silent. She knows what this man will do to that child. As the creep tries to grab the sobbing girl, Suyu steps into his line of sight. She puts on her most charming, seductive smile, hiding the disgust she feels. "The night is painfully short, wouldn't you prefer to spend it with me, dear guest?" The madam is stunned. "Suyu, you caw." But Suyu ignores her, leaning into the creep and shoving him away from the child. Since you're the one who came on to me, I won't be paying extra, the man grunts, thrilled to get a top-tier beauty for a bargain price. As you wish, dear guest, Suyu says, her voice like silk while her eyes remain icy. The madam is fuming, whispering threats. You can take her place today, but you can't do it forever. Suyu doesn't care, she looks at the man with a gaze that could kill. Xiaozao watches her gae go, tears streaming down her face as she realizes the sacrifice Suyu just made for her. Suyu leads the monster away, acting the part of the perfect courtesan while her soul withers inside. Now let's go rest in one of the rooms, the man says, his hand on her waist. Yes, let's go, he cheers. The madam is left behind, screaming that everyone in the house is expendable and that Xiaozao needs to learn her place. But then a voice cuts through her tirade, excuse me. It's the young master from earlier, looking calm and dangerous. Are you the madam of this establishment? Is there a Miss Suyu here? The madam freezes, realizing a very powerful man has just come looking for the girl she treats like trash. A sharp knock interrupts the peace, and our girl Suyu is called out to meet the madam. She steps out, explaining that her previous guest got way too drunk to continue. The madam doesn't care about the drunkard. She's practically vibrating with excitement because a young master with seriously deep pockets has requested Suyu by name. She shoves Suyu along, ignoring the disgruntled drunk who's still yelling about his money. It's your lucky day, she whispers, her eyes shining with the promise of a massive payday. She shows off gold nuggets that are worth more than Suyu's entire monthly earnings. Suyu tries to stay humble, but the madam is already pushing her toward the stairs. Our heroine is skeptical. She's not exactly the star of this place, so who's dropping this kind of gold just to see her? She takes a moment to adjust her hair and prepare her working smile. Inside the room, a mysterious man with silver hair and a sharp fan is waiting. He doesn't look like your average customer, carrying an air of nobility that feels out of place. Suyu gives her standard polite bow. Would you like to hear a song? She asks, but secretly she's thinking wow, he's actually quite handsome . He isn't interested in a performance though. Just close the door, he says, his voice calm but commanding. Suyu thinks he's just another impatient guest. But then he drops a heavy bag of coins on the table with a loud clink. Our girl's eyes practically turn into stars. Money, her inner voice screams as she stares at the hall. He leans in close, his face just inches from hers as he asks how she usually entertains her guests. Suyu plays the part of the flirtatious hostess, her hand trailing over his chest as she whispers that he'll find out soon enough. But as she touches him, her heart skips a beat, and not in a romantic way. Something is wrong, his heartbeat is steady, but the intensity in his eyes is overwhelming. He gives her a knowing, almost pitying smile. Suyu tries to regain her composure, claiming that all men are simple and she knows exactly what they want. But then he leans in and whispers the cold truth directly into her ear. You don't belong in a place like this, he says. Why humiliate yourself just to please others? She freezes, her mask completely shattered as she asks who he really is. He reveals his name is Lu Wei, and he's not there for a night of fun. He's there to help her regain her freedom. He leaves as quickly as he arrived, leaving the room quiet and Suyu stunned. Outside, the other girls are eavesdropping, wondering why things are so silent. As he walks out, the madam is all smiles, waving him off and inviting him back. But the second he's gone, she turns on Suyu, fuming because our girl didn't even get the guy's clothes off. She stops mid-rant though when she sees the bag of gold. With this much you could even, she trails off, her greed taking over. Suyu remembers Lu Weixi's warning, don't spend it on anyone else. But our girl has a heart of gold. She looks at a poor little girl, Xiaozao, sitting alone and crying in the cold. Instead of buying her own freedom, she tells the madam to let the child go. She knows this little girl deserves a chance at a real life more than she does. From a distance, Lu Weixi watches her sacrifice, musing that misfortune is often the root of happiness, and it's all just fate playing tricks. Xiaozao is overjoyed, promising to bake Suyu a cake when she gets home to her mother's tree. Suyu waves her off, warning her never to return to a place like this again. But the madam isn't impressed by the charity. Do you feel like you've done some great deed? She sneers. She reveals the gut-wrenching truth. Xiaozao wasn't sold because her family was poor, but because her father is a monster who treats her like an object to fund his drinking and gambling. The madam even bets a silver tael that the father will be back to sell her again within 2 days. Suyu is disgusted by the cynicism, but deep down she's terrified it's true. And the madam was right. Back at home, the father is a drunken beast. When Xiaozao tells him she's been freed, he loses it, smashing a jar and accusing her of running away just to embarrass him. He doesn't believe someone would just give her freedom for nothing. He raises his hand to strike her, but her loyal cat, Dilu, jumps in and hisses to protect her. The brute doesn't hesitate, slamming the poor animal aside. Xiaozao cries out for her friend, but the cat isn't moving. The father just laughs, a sickening sound as he prepares to discipline his daughter properly. He raises a heavy club, and as Xiaozao begs for mercy, the screen fades to a horrific spray of red. Suyu bolts upright in bed, gasping for air. It was a nightmare, but it felt like a premonition. She can't sleep, her mind racing with the madam's cruel words. She decides she has to check on the girl immediately. She digs through her closet, pulling out a set of black clothes she hasn't touched in 3 years. As she looks at the gear, memories of a burning city flood back. She was a princess once, forced to flee while her father and brother stayed to fight. She lost everything that day, and for 3 years, she's been hiding her true self in this brothel. But now the warrior is waking up. She just hopes the old suit still fits. The night watchman patrols the quiet streets, his wooden clapper echoing through the alleyways. The weather has been dry recently, be careful with fire. He warns, completely unaware of the shadow leaping across the rooftops above him. Our girl is on a mission, moving with the grace of a predator as she navigates the skyline. She finally sticks the landing, her breath hitching behind a terrifying Oni mask. She stares down at the quiet estate below, her heart heavy. This should be Xiao's home, she whispers to herself. She knows showing up in the middle of the night like a literal ninja might give the poor girl a heart attack, but her gut is screaming that something is wrong. Removing her mask, she reveals a face full of worry. Hopefully, I'm just overthinking things, she sighs, but we all know that in these stories, the gut is never wrong. She tiptoes through the courtyard, searching for the right room when a sudden meow breaks the silence. She nearly jumps out of her skin, turning to find a very grumpy-looking cat staring her down. "Oh, it's just you, Dilu," she says, reaching out to pet the little guy. But the cat isn't in the mood for cuddles. He turns his back and walks away with an attitude only a feline could pull off. As she watches him go, her eyes catch something on the stone floor that makes her blood run cold. A trail of dark, crimson droplets leads directly toward the main house. Panic sets in as she follows the gruesome breadcrumbs. Her boots splash into a literal pool of blood at the threshold. With a trembling hand, she pushes the door open, and the sight inside is enough to shatter her soul. There, lying motionless on the cold floor, is little Xiaozao. The room is a disaster zone of overturned furniture and discarded bandages. Our girl collapses to her knees, her voice a broken whisper as she calls out the girl's name. She desperately checks for pulse, but her mind flashes back to the sweet, smiling girl who promised she'd never forget her kindness. To see that bright light extinguished in such a filthy place is more than she can bear. Suddenly, the floorboards creak behind her. A massive, thuggish man looms in the doorway, clutching a heavy wooden staff. He doesn't look remorseful at all, he looks annoyed. "You saw something you shouldn't have," he growls, his voice dripping with malice. "So don't blame me for this." He lunges forward, swinging his weapon with everything he's got. But he picked the wrong heroine to mess with. Our girl dodges the strike with a blur of movement. Before he can even blink, she drives a palm strike straight into his chest, infused with enough power to crack ribs. The impact sends him flying backward like he was hit by a freight train. He crashes through the doors and into the courtyard, gasping for air. "This girl, she knows martial arts," he wheezes, clutching his chest in disbelief. He tries to scramble away, but she's already on him, her eyes burning with a righteous fury. "I managed to free her," he stammers, trying to justify his cruelty. Our girl isn't buying it for a second. "And yet she had to come home to someone like you?" She screams, her fist trembling with rage. The man realizes he's in deep trouble and grabs a nearby axe, his face twisting into a desperate snarl. "You shouldn't have meddled in my family's business," he shouts, "because this axe won't show you any mercy." He swings the heavy blade in a wide, lethal arc. Our girl doesn't even flinch. She ducks under the blade so fast it's like she teleports. Then she does the unthinkable. As he brings the axe down for a second strike, she reaches out and catches the wooden handle with her bare hand. The man's eyes nearly pop out of his head. "How can a girl be this strong?" he stammers, paralyzed by fear. "Haven't you caused enough trouble?" she demands before raining down a flurry of brutal strikes. She pummels him without mercy, each punch landing with a sickening bam. The final blow is a devastating overhead strike that slams him into the floorboards with such force the entire room shakes. The man is a broken mess, barely conscious as he looks over at Xiao's body. "Why is this dead brat here?" he mutters, still showing his true colors even at the end. That's the final straw. Our girl starts smashing every wine jar in the room, the pungent liquid soaking into the wood and the man's clothes. She pulls out a fire starter, the small flame flickering ominously in the dark. The man finally realizes what's happening and starts begging for his life. "No, no, wait, honored lady, great hero," he cries, trying to grab her robes. He wails about the house being his family heritage and promises to turn himself in to the authorities for a few lashes. Our girl looks at him with eyes as cold as ice. She flings the fire starter into the pool of wine without a word. The room erupts into a violent inferno. As the man screams in the background, our girl walks out of the burning building, carrying Xiao's body wrapped gently in a cloth. She leaves the house of horrors behind, the flames licking the night sky as she heads toward the mountains. By sunrise, she reaches a high, flower-covered hill overlooking the city. Her face is a mask of grief as she begins to dig a grave for the only person who treated her with genuine warmth. But just as she's about to finish, a calm voice interrupts her. "Come out, you followed me all the way up here, so what do you want?" she asks, not even turning around. It's the mysterious, white-haired figure from before. They step forward with a serene smile. "Regarding Miss Xiaozao, I can still turn back the will of heaven," they say softly. Our girl's eyes widen in shock. You can save her, she gasps, hope warring with disbelief. The stranger doesn't waste time. They kneel beside the girl and place a dark, glowing pill into her mouth. Our girl watches, breathless, as the stranger administers some water and begins to channel a golden light through their fingertips. They press their hands against Xiao Zhao's chest, and a series of soft pops echo through the air as the girl's internal injuries begin to knit back together. Suddenly, Xiao Zhao's chest heaves and she lets out a sharp, desperate gasp for air. The miracle has happened, the girl is alive. I knew it. Our girl realizes, her eyes widening as she stares at the medicine. It's the antidote to the elixir of feigned death. But wait, if Xiao Zhao had no pulse, how could this young master have possibly known she'd taken the elixir? There's only one explanation for someone having such rare medicine on hand. As the poor girl starts to stir, Suyu decides she's seen enough. She lunges forward, her hand clamping down on the master's wrist in a sudden grasp. You caused all of this, she screams, her face twisted with rage as she launches into a full-blown attack. Our girl isn't playing around, but this mysterious boss is surprisingly agile. They trade blows in a flurry of movement, with Suyu trying to land a decisive kick. But the young master is a pro, dodging every strike with a smirk. Try again, she taunts, moving with a grace that catches our heroine off guard. They clash with fans and wooden sticks, the sound of clacking wood echoing through the trees. In a split second, the boss makes her move, snatching Suyu's fan right out of her hand. Our girl freezes, realization hitting her like a ton of bricks. She's been completely disarmed. The boss pins her down, leaning in close enough that Suyu can feel her breath. You're too delicate, she whispers, her voice dripping with mock pity. She notes that while Suyu knows pressure points, her body is way too weak to handle a real fight. She's been following the boss for days, and now it's time for the truth. Answer honestly, the boss demands, her eyes turning cold, or I will cripple you. Cornered, our girl drops the ultimate bombshell. I saw it over and over again, Miss Suyu burying a small child on top of this hill. The boss freezes, you saw it where, she demands. Suyu explains that she can see the future, and those events have appeared before her countless times. She chose to intervene because she saw a faint hope for the girl to survive. The boss groans, this is making my head hurt, it's just too absurd. She asks why Suyu didn't just stop the death from happening if she knew. Our girl sighs, who would have believed a random person claiming to see the future? Besides, she did try to warn her not to give the money away to someone too powerless to protect it. The mood shifts as they discuss the harsh reality of their world. Under the new laws, women are stripped of every right. No school, no martial arts, and certainly no official positions. Even those who buy their freedom remain at the bottom of the social ladder. Where is there a place without cages? The boss asks, her eyes full of a longing for true freedom. Suddenly, a small voice breaks the tension. Suyu-ga, it's okay. Xiao Zhao is awake. The little girl thanks them both for saving her life. We see a flashback of the young master visiting Xiao Zhao after she'd been beaten by her father. She offered her the elixir of feigned death as a way out. Xiao Zhao had lost the will to live, so she drank it, hoping for an end. But instead, she found a new beginning. The boss offers the girl a place to stay to recover. Suyu is still suspicious, demanding to know what she's really up to. But the boss just rubs her sore wrist and smiles. I'd like to rest before I answer your questions, is that all right? Our girl huffs, fine, I'll wait. As they walk away, Xiao Zhao cheekily whispers that the young master seems interested in Suyu. Our girl just deadpans, she's a girl, leaving the poor kid totally confused. They arrive at the Lu family dye house where the workers greet the boss with cheers. Suyu is shocked to find out this young master is actually the owner of such a famous workshop. It turns out she's a total girl boss who invested in mulberry trees to harvest her own silk and bypass the restrictive laws. She's turned this place into a sanctuary for orphans and the homeless. As they walk through the booming workshop, Suyu realizes she completely misjudged this woman. She's clever, resourceful, and incredibly brave for running this illegal operation to help others. But our girl's face pales as she looks at the horizon. If someone discovers what she's been doing, she thinks, I fear it will bring disaster. Meanwhile, at the palace, the emperor receives word that a commissioner is hunting for rebels in the city. He smirks, hoping to finally eradicate the last remnants of the previous dynasty. Back at the dye house, the boss offers to buy Suyu's freedom again, but our girl has a new, terrifying vision. I have foreseen that in 2 days, this house will be drowned in a sea of fire. Many lives will be lost. She sees a future where Suyu is the only one who can stop it. Suyu asks, her heart thumping. The boss is willing to try anything to stop the disaster. Suyu agrees to help, and they prepare to head to the brothel to finally settle the matter of her freedom. Would you like to know what it's like to see the future? The boss asks with a mysterious glint in her eye. The brothel is buzzing as the doors are about to open, but there's one major problem. Suyu is nowhere to be found. Mama is absolutely fuming, threatening to confiscate our girl's pay and literally break her legs the moment she shows her face. While the other girls are busy dreaming about being swept away by a rich young master to escape this life. Mama is playing detective. She sneaks into Suyu's room, prying up a floorboard with a hairpin. She finds a hidden stash of cash and scoffs, calling Suyu a naughty girl for hiding so much from her. But Mama's victory is short-lived when a shadow looms over her. It's Suyu, looking like an absolute boss in her new traveling gear, and she's caught the old lady red-handed. It's no wonder the other girls are always talking about thieves, she says, calling out Mama's little mischief. Mama is startled, nearly jumping out of her skin because she could have sworn she was alone. She tries to deflect by questioning Suyu's outfit. But our girl isn't playing, she demands her money back immediately. Mama tries to claim the money is hers, but Suyu drops the receipts, revealing she knows the exact amount stolen from the other girls, 356 taels, plus her own savings. Mama is internally screaming, wondering how on earth she knows the exact count. Suyu lectures her on making the girls' lives miserable just to keep them trapped. Mama gets defensive, shouting about how she saved Suyu from the streets 3 years ago. But Suyu hits back with a truth bomb that leaves Mama speechless. She reveals she knows Mama's secret past, that she was also once a dreamer who was deceived and sold into this life. Mama is terrified, convinced that Suyu has developed some sort of supernatural power. In reality, Suyu is just following the script Weixi gave her, and it's working like a charm. Mama finally folds, telling Suyu that if she wants to buy her freedom, she won't stop her. Later, Suyu goes looking for her, young Master Lu, only to find out the top courtesan has snatched him away to a private pavilion. She rushes over just in time to see the Huakui pouring a drink for Weixi, who is still in her male disguise. Suyu goes full jealous mode, barging in and dragging her customer away. She scolds Weixi for being so careless, but then the realization hits. The wine Weixi just drank was a potent aphrodisiac. Back at the brothel, Mama is laughing to herself, knowing that wine feels like poison racing through the body without a girl to help. Weixi is currently in Suyu's room, feeling like she's literally on fire. Suyu teases her, saying she'll have to endure this for at least 8 or 9 hours. Seeing our poor heroine struggling, Suyu gets a mischievous glint in her eye and offers to give her some relief. Weixi panics, reminding Suyu that they are both women and she shouldn't tarnish her newly restored reputation. Suyu just laughs at her chaste and virtuous attitude, calling Weixi a delicious snack. She leans in dangerously close, asking Weixi what she really sees when she looks at her. As Weixi's resolve starts to crumble under the heat, Suyu whispers that she is at her service, leaving our girl a blushing, sweating mess for the rest of the night. Lu Weixi looks deep into our heroine's eyes, her gaze heavy with emotion as she confesses how much she cherishes her, and that every future she sees is centered entirely on her. Suyu admits she accidentally drank aphrodisiac wine and doesn't want to lose control because of the drugs. She pulls back, realizing she shouldn't be so intimate so soon since Lu Weixi isn't ready for that level of heat yet. She blames her own carelessness for the mix-up, leaving a chibai Lu Weixi thinking, oh dear. Suyu grabs Lu Weixi's hand, promising to stay by her side to help her endure the night. She can't help but tease, asking who would even try to resist such pleasure and offering to relieve Lu Weixi if it becomes too much. Lu Weixi is absolutely dying of embarrassment while Suyu just laughs and kicks her feet like a total menace. Suyu eventually settles down to take care of her, wringing out a cool cloth and wiping Lu Weixi's feverish forehead while she hides under the covers. Lu Weixi is sweating bullets, and when Suyu tries to pull the blanket back, it turns into a comical battle of wills. What a stubborn girl, Suyu whispers with a smirk as she continues to watch over her. The next morning, the gossip mill is in full swing. The ladies outside are shocked that Suyu served the young master until dawn without ever leaving the room. Suyu walks out acting totally exhausted to sell the performance. Lu Weixi, still in her male disguise, follows behind her blushing like a beet. They say their goodbyes to the mama of the house, who wishes Suyu a good life. Mama even jokes about their future wedding, sending Lu Weixi into a quick escape sprint out of the building. While walking through the city, things take a serious turn. Lu Weixi buys our girl some flatbread as a thank you. Suyu is munching away happily, praising Lu Weixi's masterful plan. But the mood shifts when Suyu casually tells Lu Weixi that if she ever foresees her death, she needs to tell her immediately. Lu Weixi snaps at her, her expression darkening as she warns that matters of life and death shouldn't be spoken of so casually. I won't allow that to happen, she vows silently, her heart racing. To keep our girl safe, Lu Weixi suggests they become sworn sisters. They perform the ceremony in front of a statue of Guan Yu. As they hold the incense, Suyu is secretly thinking about how this little treasury who sees the future is her ultimate ticket to survival. Lu Weixi knows exactly what our girl is up to, but she doesn't care. If it means staying by her side, she'll play right into the scheme. Sometime later, a minister of clothing arrives at the Lu family dye house with his guards. He claims he's there to buy palace silks, but his real mission is hunting for remaining rebels. He demands to meet the master of the shop. Suyu is busy trying on gorgeous new clothes Lu Weixi gave her when she hears the commotion outside. Lu Wei grabs our girl's hand, warning her to be cautious and not so trusting of others. They head out to meet the honored guest. Lu Wei greets the minister with a polite smile, but Suyu's heart nearly stops. She recognizes the broker accompanying the minister. Suyu is sweating, realizing the broker is actually her old teacher, her Shifu. They manage to slip away to speak privately. The moment they are alone, Shifu slams his head on the floor in a deep bow, sobbing that he should be put to death for failing her. Princess, he cries out, his voice full of grief. Suyu's eyes go wide as she tells him to stop. Calling her a princess of the previous dynasty is treason that could get them both beheaded. He asks if she's truly forgotten the disaster that befell Wangai City. Suyu's mind flashes back to the city in flames and her younger self crying in the ruins. It's a wound she always knew she wouldn't be able to ignore forever. We find out that our girl wasn't always a street-smart survivor. She was once Hai Rying, the pampered princess of Wangai City. Back when she was 9, she was already a handful, ditching her studies and making her maids lose their minds. She even had the audacity to storm into her parents' quarters, demanding her annoying maids be replaced. Her mother, Zhu Feng, was the eldest princess of the former dynasty, and her father, Hai Natuan, was the prince of the city. When her mother asks if she's just bored with her lessons, our heroine makes her stance clear. While her older brother Xiang Yu is busy training to be the heir. Rying decides she wants in on the action. I don't want to study the 4 books for women, they're so boring. She screams, throwing a total royal tantrum. She's dead set on learning martial arts just like her brother. Her mother, who is tragically sickly, convinces the prince to let her train, hoping she won't end up weak as a willow. And just like that, General Sidu Yuengxin becomes her new Shifu. Fast forward to age 12 and the willow has officially withered. Her mother has passed away. It's a heartbreaking scene as the family offers incense at her memorial. But Rying uses that grief to fuel her training. She's grown into a formidable fighter, sparring with her brother in the snow. He tries to act all superior, telling her brute force won't win a fight. Big mistake. Our girl pulls a slick move, trips him up, and gets her blade right to his throat. Look at that smug little Fang, she's definitely her father's daughter. Her brother is impressed, but warns her to stop talking about war. He wants her to have a peaceful life and a good husband, which honestly sounds like a nightmare to her. The peace doesn't last long. The morning bells begin to toll because the emperor has left this world. By the time Rying hits 15, the empire is falling apart because the new crown prince is an incompetent coward. This gives an opening to the ultimate villain, her uncle Zhu Wucheng. He's ambitious, bloodthirsty, and starts a massive rebellion under the lie of cleansing the court. The conflict hits home when the uncle sends a letter to Rying's father, accusing the Hai family of treachery. He demands a political marriage with Rying to prove their loyalty, but we all know he just wants a hostage. Her brother is absolutely livid. I won't allow my sister to be married off to such a despicable man, he shouts. Rying eavesdrops on the whole conversation, her heart sinking. She asks her father if her sacrifice would actually bring peace to the city. But her father is a legend. The Hai family will never trade a woman's life for peace, he declares. If the uncle wants a war, he's going to get one. Our girl isn't about to sit and hide either. She wants to fight alongside them to crush the rebellion. But the reality of war is brutal. Uncle's army is 100,000 strong, and soon Wangai City is a literal hellscape of fire and arrows. In the middle of the slaughter, Shifu carries an unconscious Rying through the panicking crowds. When she finally wakes up, she realizes she's been drugged with a Kai blocker. Her brother ordered it because he knew she'd never leave them willingly. She's paralyzed and screaming for answers, but Shifu tells her the hard truth. If she's captured, her father's entire sacrifice is for nothing. Wangai is already lost, and she is the only hope for the family's legacy. She watches from a distance as her home burns to the ground. What's the point of being safe if I'm alone without a place to call home? She sobs, the weight of the world on her shoulders. After 10 days of fleeing, she orders Shifu to go back and help her father, leaving her with his attendant, Ajai. But Ajai is at his breaking point. He snaps and points a finger at her, screaming that his own family is going to die because of her. One person in exchange for the lives of everyone in Wangai City, who wouldn't agree to a bargain like that, he yells. He abandons her in the middle of nowhere, leaving our poor heroine completely alone. She eventually limps her way to Yunju City, now nothing more than a ragged refugee. The gossip on the street is soul-crushing. The old emperor is dead, and the uncle has taken the throne after slaughtering 9,000 people in Wangai. Rying collapses in the mud, the rain washing away her tears. It's all my fault, she whispers, completely broken. But then a shadow falls over her. A woman's hand lifts her chin, inspecting her like a piece of merchandise. You're quite pretty for a refugee, the woman notes, offering her food and a place to stay. But there's a dark catch, she'll have to use her body to serve others in the future. Our girl doesn't even flinch. Okay, she says, her eyes turning cold. If this life of shame is her punishment, she'll take it just to stay alive and wait for her chance at revenge. The old man breaks down into hysterical sobs, unable to believe our girl has fallen so far as to become a courtesan. But our heroine doesn't flinch. She calmly explains that after the new emperor ascended the throne and began his bloody purge, she had no choice but to change her name to Suyu to survive. It's only natural you couldn't track me down, she says, trying to soothe the man who once taught her everything. However, her eyes are filled with a desperate need for the truth. She demands to know what really happened during the battle at Wangai City. Shifu's face crumples as he admits he didn't make it in time. The flashback is a nightmare of fire and blood, showing a city littered with the corpses of those who refused to bow. Her brother and the prince chose a warrior's death over surrender. Shifu arrived to find a ghost town, where the river literally ran red with blood for 5 days and nights. Back in the present, the grief is palpable. Shifu signals his man to bring forward a long, cloth-wrapped object. As he slides the cover away, our girl's heart stops. It's her father's favorite weapon, the legendary sword Yulong. She draws the blade, but instead of a pristine shine, she sees a ruined edge covered in nicks and dried blood. The sight of the damaged steel forces her to imagine her father's final, brutal stand. She collapses into tears, clutching the sword and apologizing for not being there in his final moments. But the sentimentality quickly sours. Shifu reveals he kept the sword as a cold reminder that he must one day use it to slaughter his enemies. Our girl begins to feel a chill that has nothing to do with the weather. She realizes this meeting feels far too calculated. She remembers Weixi's warning to be cautious, and starts questioning if Shifu's life as a silk broker is just a convenient lie. He doesn't even try to deny it. He admits he leads a secret group called the Tianli Society, and they've been waiting for an opportunity to strike. His plan is as brilliant as it is cruel. Since the emperor is currently hunting for beautiful women for his harem, Shifu wants to plant an assassin inside the palace. He then drops a bombshell. Master Lu, the business partner our girl just met, is actually a woman in disguise. Shifu praises Lu's intelligence and beauty, claiming she is the perfect gift to send to the emperor to get close enough for a kill. Our girl is absolutely horrified. This plan could easily get her killed. She snaps, disgusted that he hasn't even asked Lu for her consent. Shifu's expression turns bone-chillingly cold. He claims a mere commoner has no right to refuse, and if she tries, he'll just blackmail her or burn her dye house to the ground. In that moment, our girl realizes the man standing before her isn't the mentor she once admired. He's a monster consumed by hate. She remembers Weixi's vision of the dye house being swallowed by a sea of fire. It wasn't an accident she saw, it was Shifu's threat. Desperate to protect her friend, our girl makes a dangerous offer. Wouldn't I be the better choice? She argues that she already knows martial arts and was literally trained in a brothel to enthrall men. Shifu is stunned, but his obsession with vengeance is too deep. He suggests that if she won't go, she should at least train Miss Lu to be the perfect killer. Absurd, our heroine screams, her voice echoing through the tea house. She finally sees the truth. She was abandoned all those years ago, and the old friend she thought she found is long gone. She grips her sword, declaring that she and Miss Lu are now sworn sisters. I won't play the role of a madam and offer her up as a gift to my enemies, she declares, turning to leave. But Shifu isn't letting his prize walk away. A guard instantly slides into her path, blocking the exit. Since she knows the plan, she's become a liability he can't ignore. With a sharp ***, our girl draws her father's blade and points it directly at her former teacher. I am no longer your princess, she hisses, officially severing their bond. Shifu just smirks, drawing his own weapon with a lethal grace. He's ready to test if her skills have gotten rusty, but our girl only has one thought. She has to end this fight fast and get back to save the dye house before everything goes up in flames. The legendary sword Yulong might have been custom-made for a prince, but our girl Hai Rying doesn't care about proper size. She grips the hilt with a look that says she's ready to rewrite the manual on swordsmanship. Her Shifu mocks her, asking if she's actually been practicing, before reminding her that he's the one who taught her every trick she knows. But in the heat of battle, a true warrior sees the world in slow motion. One tiny mistake could cost her everything, and as the world falls away, it's just the two of them in a realm of pure Kai. By reading his energy, she can anticipate his every move. The blades clash with a deafening clang as they dance across the room. He thinks he's found an opening, sneering that she's left her waist wide open. He remembers training her as a child, telling her that her next goal after besting her brother was to defeat him. Back then, she was just a sweet apprentice thanking her master. But today, she's a woman with a mission. As they exchange blows, a single tear escapes the Shifu's eye, moved by how far his pupil has come. He tries to snap out of it, but it's too late. She thanks him for the lessons, but points out that his greatest weakness is the very style he taught her. With a blinding flash, she lands a strike. Your weakness, she cries as he staggers back. He can only smile through his exhaustion, admitting her training is finally complete as he falls to one knee. Suddenly, the room is swarming with guards drawing their steel. Stop, the Shifu commands, ordering them to let her go. He realizes she didn't even use the sharp edge of her blade. She shamed him by winning with the blunt side. The drama is interrupted when the tea house proprietor drags in a scruffy little urchin. The kid bites the man's hand and rushes straight to our girl. Misuyu, Master Weixi is in trouble, she's been captured, he screams. Our heroine's blood runs cold. She immediately puts her sword to her Shifu's throat, but he's just as confused as she is. The kid explains it wasn't the Shifu's men, but an old man with a long white beard. The Minister of Clothing, they gasp in unison. Our girl isn't waiting for an explanation. I'm going to find Weixi right now, she vows. Rewind to 30 minutes earlier and things are looking grim for poor Weixi. She's been dragged to a desolate temple and tied up like a prize catch. A guard wakes her up the rude way with a cold bucket of water to the face. She realizes she was jumped at the dye house and knocked out cold. Standing over her is the Minister of Clothing, looking like a total villain. He demands to know everything about the Tianli Society, a group of rebels causing chaos. He claims captured rebels pointed to her dye house as their secret bank. Weixi plays the part of the confused businessman begging for mercy. The guards drop a bombshell. This minister is actually a high-ranking special envoy, and if she doesn't talk, the only thing waiting for her is death. Realizing the whip is coming out, Weixi decides to pivot to a new strategy. Wait, I've been hiding the fact that I'm a woman, she shrieks. The minister is absolutely floored. She spins a sob story about being an orphan who had to disguise herself just to be respected in business. She argues she'd never risk her secret by joining a rebellion. The old man falls for it hook, line, and sinker, even getting a bit creepy as he eyes her up. She begs him to focus on the real rebels and leave a simple woman like her alone. He agrees to hold off until he catches the rebel leader tonight, but warns her he'll be back to verify her identity later. The second he leaves, Weixi's scared face vanishes into a smirk. She's glad he didn't suspect her real secrets, but she's still hanging from the ceiling, wondering how Suyu ever survived the brothel if it required this much fake smiling. Suddenly, she hears a rustle. You can come out now, little beggar, she calls out. The kid from earlier pops out from under a cloth, terrified she'll report him for stealing offerings. She recognizes him instantly. He's the kid she gave a fortune in gold to a few days ago. She was extra generous specifically so he'd owe her a favor when the time came. I need you to deliver a message, she whispers. Back in the present, our girl Suyu is gearing up, knowing Weixi is counting on her. She grabs the kid and tells her Shifu she's taking the rooftops to avoid the soldiers. Her Shifu tries to play the different paths card again, but she shuts him down, saying their hatred is the same. She threatens to hunt him down personally if the dye house gets burned in his mess. With a final insult to wipe his own ass, she hops onto the roof with the terrified kid in tow. Poor kid is turning green from the height, but she just tells him to hold it in as they fly across the city. They reach the temple, but it's crawling with way more soldiers than before. Suyu tells the kid to hide and prepares to unleash the beast. How dare they take Weixi? She snarls, her bottled-up anger finally exploding. Inside the temple, the silence is broken by the sound of absolute carnage. Blood splatters the screen as Suyu kicks the doors down, a dead soldier falling at her feet. She doesn't waste a second, grabbing a spear and slicing the ropes holding Weixi. She sprints across the floor and catches her friend before she can hit the ground. Feeling Weixi's heart beating against hers, our girl finally breathes a sigh of relief. Weixi just giggles, looking totally unfazed. Jie, you finally came to my rescue, she teases. Suyu huffs, her heart still racing. Why didn't you say anything? Were you trying to give me a heart attack? But seeing Weixi safe and laughing, she knows it was all worth it. But don't worry, our girl isn't the target. She's the hero, slicing through the thick ropes binding her friend's wrists. As the cords fall away, leaving raw red marks behind, she softly asks, does it hurt? Rying looks on with intense concern, while our silver-haired beauty, Weixi, manages a weary smile as she adjusts her clothes. She brushes off the injury, claiming it's just a scratch. Besides, it's nothing compared to the absolute beatdown the guards outside just took. Rying isn't in the mood for jokes, though. She's riddled with guilt, whispering, I never should have let you go off on your own. Weixi admits her legs are a bit shaky after being hung up like a decoration, but she's more worried about the dye house. We need to get back there quickly, she urges. Rying doesn't hesitate for a second, offering to carry her friend so they can move faster. Just as they're planning their escape, a little beggar kid pops up with a better idea. He knows a secret route where they won't be seen, and the trio quickly slips through the shadows. On Rying's back, Weixi asks if the sword she's carrying is too heavy. Rying smiles, her sword Yulong is no burden at all. When Rying mentions it's a long story, Weixi drops a massive truth bomb. I probably know most of the details already. She reveals the impossible that Rying's future self already spilled the tea. Rying is absolutely floored. Why wait until now to mention time-traveling spoilers? Weixi just wanted to hear the story from her in person. Then she whispers the name Rying thought was buried forever. Hi, Rying. Our girl freezes. No one has called her that since she fled the disaster at Wangai City. She had buried her past and hidden among commoners, certain that if she were ever recognized as the daughter of a traitor, she'd just accept her fate. She felt her life would never be enough to atone for the lives lost because of her. But hearing Weixi say her name didn't bring the sting of torture or death. Instead, it felt like her soul was being seen for the first time. It made her happy because it was Weixi. This girl was the only one who ever gave her a choice and made her hope for a freedom she felt she didn't deserve. Back in reality, Rying blushes harder than a sunset. I just didn't expect hearing my own name to be so pleasant, she admits. Weixi teases that she'll call her that from now on, but Rying panics. That's a one-way ticket to getting their heads chopped off. They finally reach the Lu family dye house, but the vibe is all wrong. Guards are crawling everywhere. Rying realizes the authorities are watching the place because of the trouble her Shifu stirred up. She decides she has to leave the city for everyone's safety. But Weixi isn't letting her go alone. Jie, wherever you go, I will follow, she vows. Weixi has already made all the arrangements for their departure. Returning to the shop, the workers are in a panic. Rying quickly warns them that the Minister of Clothing was a total fraud. The whole crew gathers around, sensing the impending doom. Suddenly, a worker sprints in with the worst news possible. A small army of soldiers is heading their way. Outside, the air thickens with the smell of smoke as torches are lit. A worker cautiously opens the gate, only to find a grim-faced official from the imperial court staring him down. This old man looks like he hasn't had a nap in 40 years, and he's ready to take it out on someone. Soldiers stomp into the courtyard, ignoring the workers' pleas. Inside, Rying and the others hide in the shadows, hushed and terrified. Rying realizes this official is just a sore loser who failed to catch her Shifu and is now looking for a punching bag. His Kai is suffocatingly powerful. The official screams about impudence and declares the dye house a rebel hideout. To prove he's not playing around, he grabs a torch and sets their precious silk on fire. The beautiful fabric turns to ash in seconds. Rying watches the flames, realization dawning on her. This is the fire Weixi foresaw. The worker begs for mercy, mentioning their families, but the official just sneers. He'd rather kill every innocent person in the building than let one criminal escape. That's the final straw for our girl. She reaches for her sword, ready to risk it all to protect her home. But just as she's about to draw her blade, Weixi grabs her arm and stops her. Suddenly, boom. A massive explosion rocks the courtyard, leaving the official and his guards in total shock. Weixi and Rying lock eyes as the real chaos begins. The city is in absolute chaos as thick smoke billows into the sky. Gongs are screaming through the streets as the alarm is raised. There's a massive fire. The main watchtower has been turned into a literal torch, and the guards are losing their minds. The watchtower is on fire. They shout, realizing their primary defense is toast. The captain bellows that the arsonist must be nearby and orders his men to track them down immediately. This guy is clearly a pro, casually leaning against his sword while the city burns behind him. Come now, old devil, he muses, looking toward the palace. He's got a wicked smirk as he challenges the authorities to see if they actually have what it takes to catch him. Meanwhile, the high official is having a total meltdown, screaming that this is a blatant provocation and a complete disregard for order. He's so purple with rage he looks like he's about to pop a vein, ordering the city gates to be sealed at once. His servants are trembling on the floor, terrified of his wrath. He leads a squad out, determined to trap the rebels and eliminate them once and for all. Back at the dye house, Instructor Wang watches the soldiers march away, looking completely stunned. He realizes the distraction worked and rushes off to find water. Su watches the smoke from a distance, realizing her Shifu really went all out. Our girl Weixi is standing right beside her, and Su explains that the fire was started specifically to keep the fighting away from the dye house. Su is beaming, relieved that their home is going to be safe. Su catches Weixi's eye and the tension is suddenly very real. Our girl looks a bit melancholy, realizing this is the end of an era. We've managed to avoid disaster, she whispers. Su grabs her hand, looking her up and down with a blush. Weixi, you look so different in that outfit, she says, clearly digging the feminine look. They share a long, dramatic look that screams more than friends. The rest of the dye shop staff finally spots them and their jaws hit the floor. The boss was a woman, they scream in unison. They're all crowding around, complimenting our girl on how pretty she looks. But Weixi doesn't have time for a fashion show. She tells them there's no time to lose and they have to leave quickly. She hands over the final supplies, and it's time for the heartbreaking goodbyes. Su ruffles the kids' hair, telling them to take care of themselves. She even gives the little beggar boy a playful pinch on the cheek, telling him to stay out of trouble. As they head for the door, the staff is practically begging them to stay. It's dangerous out there, are you sure you want to leave? They cry. Weixi gives them one last, beautiful smile. Yeah, I have to go, she says firmly. She promises them that the new boss will take good care of everyone. The workers are totally blindsided. The new boss, they gasp. Su and Weixi don't look back, holding hands as they vanish into the twilight. Instructor Wang is busy dousing the last of the embers when he spots them. He's confused to see our girl back in her true attire. Why are you wearing women's clothing again? He asks. Weixi thanks him for protecting the shop, telling him it's all thanks to him that they survived. She presses a mysterious letter into his chest, telling him to read it only once she's gone. He watches them walk away, clutching the paper with a sinking feeling in his gut. Goodbyes, our girl calls out one last time. Wang opens the envelope and his eyes nearly fall out of his head. It's the deed and the key to the entire dye house. He's panicking, wondering why she would just give it all away. The workers crowd around him, asking if he's the new boss she mentioned. The realization hits them all like a freight train. Wang tries to run after her, shouting that she's being too hasty, but Weixi tells him to stay back and go home. Down at the city gates, the situation is getting ugly as the guards start slamming the doors shut. Su realizes her Shifu's plan was brilliant. He started the fight on the other side of town just to give them an escape route. Suddenly, a man with a cart appears, calling out to the ladies. It's a nondescript wagon filled to the brim with straw. Quickly now, your chariot awaits, the driver says. This is Fang Hulu, and he's their ticket out of this mess. Su and Weixi share a nervous glance before climbing into the cramped, itchy hiding spot. Where are we even supposed to sit? Su whispers, looking at the mountain of straw. Back at the dye house, Wang finally reads the letter. It's a bombshell. Weixi explains that because she's a woman, she was never allowed to legally run the business, so she had it registered in Wang's name from the very beginning. She tells him she knows she can trust him after 2 years of working together. She even asks him to name the little beggar boy and treat him like family. By giving him the deed and the safe key, she's officially making him the boss. She's cutting all ties to protect them from the authorities who are hunting her. Wang starts bawling, clutching the key to his chest. Having you say it like this breaks my heart, he sobs. The staff wonders if she really was a rebel, but Wang shuts that down fast. She would never do anything to hurt us, he says through his tears. She left because she loved them enough to protect them. He vows that no matter how far she travels, the Lu family dye house will always be their home. Because they are all family. The cart suddenly grinds to a halt at the main gate. Inside the straw, the girls hold their breath, looking incredibly tense. They can hear the chaos outside as the cart sits motionless. A massive crowd has gathered at the gates, screaming at the guards to let them through. Be reasonable, the goods are going to rot, the merchants cry. But the soldiers are heartless, pointing their spears at anyone who gets too close. They don't care about the people living outside the city. The gates are heavily barricaded. The lead guard screams that unless you have a stamped travel permit, you're staying right where you are. He's even manhandling the elderly to show he means business. Suddenly, Fang Hulu holds up a document with a flourish. I have one, he chirps. The guard looks suspicious, snatching the permit to inspect it. He walks over to the cart and starts lifting the straw. He sees nothing but baskets of herbs, so you're an herbalist, he grunts. Fang spins a lie about an epidemic in Huijing City and how this medicine is urgently needed. The guard isn't convinced. He raises his spear, the tip gleaming dangerously. He suddenly thrusts the spear deep into the straw. Inside, the spearhead narrowly misses our girl's face as Su pulls her into a tight embrace, shielding her body with her own. Fang yells at the guard to stop before he damages the expensive medicine. The spear is inches away from Su's head. Su's eyes go cold. She's ready to kill everyone here if even one hair on Weixi's head is touched. She grips her sword, her expression turning terrifyingly intense. Su thinks Weixi must be terrified because she's shaking. But the truth, our girl is actually blushing like crazy, realizing she's being held in Su's arms. She's actually thinking she wouldn't mind if the guard took his sweet time checking the cart. Fang plays his trump card, showing a letter supposedly written by a prince. He leans in close to the guard with a death stare. If you want to die, keep stabbing, he threatens. The guard folds immediately, and the cart finally gallops out of the city gates. Once they're clear, Su lets out a massive sigh of relief, still holding Weixi close. Our girl's heart is going ba-thump so loud she's worried Su can hear it. Su suddenly realizes she might be smothering her and pulls back, apologizing. Weixi thanks her for everything, admitting she's glad Su talked some sense into her Shifu. Fang pops his head back, revealing that he really is a licensed herbalist and the permit was real. But the prince's letter, totally fake, he laughs. He tells them not to worry about the captain, because he's the type of man who always makes sure everyone has a way out before the first spark is lit. He tells the girls to get some rest as they ride into the night. Su finally collapses onto the straw, exhausted. She looks like a total dork with her fangs showing as she celebrates their freedom. She pats the straw next to her, inviting Weixi to lie down. It's actually quite comfy, and the two of them share a rare moment of peace. Su watches our girl with a soft expression. She tells Weixi that the person she should really be grateful to for saving the dye house is herself. Su is in awe of how Weixi's mind works, planning every single detail for years just to ensure everyone's safety. Weixi tries to speak, but Su gently shushes her. Let me figure it out, she whispers as they drift toward a new life together. The little beggar can't believe his luck, clutching a heavy bag and shouting that they're going to save his benefactor. Su watches him go, her mind drifting back to the moment she gave him a massive pile of gold outside the brothel. Our girl Weixi just smiled and told the poor kid to go get himself something good to eat. Su realizes that Weixi didn't just help him out of the goodness of her heart. She foresaw that they would meet him again after being captured. Isn't that right? Suyu asks, leaning in close with a knowing smirk. Weixi doesn't deny it, admitting she foresaw two possible futures. In one, the Dai house was swallowed by a sea of fire. In the other, she lived peacefully with Suyu. She went out of her way to free our heroine just so she'd be willing to help her. You helped me for the same reason you helped the beggar, Suyu deduces, but Weixi thinks to herself that her reasons were actually way more personal than that. Suyu is impressed but still has questions, asking why Weixi did business with that shady broker if she knew he was dangerous. Weixi just giggles, calling her Jai Jai and complimenting how clever she is. She explains that the broker, Azin, was too talented to ignore, and avoiding him would have tipped him off that she knew his secrets. She was terrified he'd force her to be an accomplice if he realized she knew he wanted her to assassinate the emperor. It was better to pretend I didn't know anything, she says. That is how the wise keep themselves safe. She admits she only had the guts to pull off her plan because Suyu was by her side. If her Jai Jai had left her, she would have just found a different, lonelier path. Suyu pulls her into a tight hug, screaming, "Idiot, of course I'd save you." Our heroine feels a pang of guilt, worrying that Weixi lost everything and became a wanderer just because of her. But Weixi just laughs it off. To her, this is what being sworn sisters is all about, sharing the bad times and the good. Suyu is suddenly racked with even more guilt when she remembers she originally only wanted to be sisters, so she could use Weixi as a personal walking ATM. She grabs Weixi's hands and promises to take full responsibility and look after her. Weixi just smiles and says she has something to show her. She sits up and produces a red bag with a dramatic dunnon on it. Suyu wonders what's inside, and when Weixi unties it, a literal blinding golden light explodes from the bag. It's so bright it practically flashbangs the poor cart driver. Suyu panics and tells her to hide that wealth before someone robs them blind. As they settle back down, Weixi thinks about how she opened that dye shop specifically to meet Suyu, but she decides it's still too early to confess that. Suyu tells her, "I like listening to you," which sends Weixi into a total blushing mess. Our poor seer's heart is going ba-thump so loud she's sure Suyu can hear it. When Suyu asks where they should go next, her face turns serious. She wants to return to Wangai City to see the ruins for herself. Weixi understands, but she's terrified that returning home will only awaken Suyu's pain and hatred. She has a sudden, horrific vision of a banquet soaked in blood. Everything in her sight points to a disaster at the looming banquet. She can't bear to stop Suyu from going home, so she just hugs her tight and promises to stay by her side no matter what. Both of them are keeping secrets now. Weixi hopes Suyu gives up on revenge, while Suyu is determined not to get Weixi involved in the dangerous game she's playing. The vision shifts, showing a brutal scene at the looming banquet. A warrior in armor, Suyu, is surrounded by guards as the emperor calls her an insolent wretch. The emperor steps forward, dismissing his guards to deal with her himself. Suyu lunges with her blade, but the emperor blocks her with a staff, his eyes glowing with a terrifying golden light. With a single powerful shove, he impales her. As our girl coughs up blood, the emperor demands her name. "I am the daughter of the prince and princess of Wangai City," she gasps out before her hand loses its grip and falls limp. The emperor freezes, realizing he just killed his own sister's daughter. While the guards celebrate the death of the rebel leader, a young princess watches in horror, clutching a cat. The cat, Lord Bao, suddenly begins to glow. The cat reveals its true form, a legendary nine-tailed spirit beast. It gives a cheeky wink and a meow as its tails unfurl. Weixi snaps awake, drenched in sweat from the nightmare. She realizes she's safe in the forest, and Suyu is already up, busily carving a fishing spear. Suyu is in high spirits, acting clingy and asking Weixi to come watch her fish. They head down to a stream where Suyu proves she's a total pro, stabbing a fish with a single strike. Weixi tries to shake off the lingering dread of her dream, but it won't leave her. As they pack up, they come across a weathered stone marker for Yunfeng Forest that warns travelers to stay away. Their driver tells them a chilling legend about an extraordinary woman known as the Demoness who lives in these woods. She's said to be a beast with ferocity beyond any human, with eyes that shine with that same golden light Weixi saw in her dream. She kills as easily as cutting grass. Suyu and Weixi are both sweating bullets, but the driver drops a bombshell. If Suyu wants to become strong enough to take revenge on someone unbeatable, she must take the Demoness as her teacher. Our girls can only stare in shock as they realize what their next mission has to be. "Suyu, is it possible that you've already decided to seek revenge?" The man in the straw hat stares at our girl, his voice heavy with a warning that her target's techniques are among the strongest in the world. "Now that's all I have to say," he mutters, trying to make a mysterious exit. But our girl isn't about to let him leave her on a cliffhanger. "Hold on, you've barely told me anything," she shouts, grabbing his attention. The man sighs, telling her that the less she knows about this woman, the better. He warns her that if she does learn the truth, she better act like she's clueless. Because she doesn't trust anyone anymore, he explains, adding that since the incident, she kills anyone who tries to discover the truth. Our heroine is shaken, whispering the incident, but the man just tells her she has a better chance of surviving if she figures it out herself before disappearing into the mist. Left with only half a story, Suyu is absolutely fuming. "This is killing me, who only tells half the story?" she rants, looking like she's about to have a total meltdown. She turns her suspicious gaze toward her companion, Weixi. You definitely know something, tell me. I swear I'll pretend I don't know anything when the time comes. Weixi finally looks her in the eye, her expression turning dead serious. First, I want you to tell me who you are trying to defeat. Our girl tries to play it cool, claiming she just wants to be a disciple and improve her martial arts. Weixi isn't buying the act for a second. She leans in so close they're practically touching noses. You're lying, she whispers, her gaze piercing through our heroine's facade. Suyu panics internally, wondering how Weixi saw right through her. Weixi warns her that if she can't even fool her, she stands zero chance against the Demoness. Seeing that her lies failed, Suyu switches to her ultimate weapon, acting like a spoiled brat. She clings to Weixi, begging to be spoiled like a little sister until Weixi finally gives it. We jump ahead to a riverbank where our girl is showing off her fishing skills. She's caught a mountain of fish, but suddenly she spots something massive moving in the water. Wait, that's not a fish. Weixi screams, realizing the huge fish is actually a person floating downstream. They dive in and pull a young boy onto the shore. Suyu doesn't waste a second, immediately starting chest compressions to pump the water out of his lungs. The boy finally wakes up coughing and sputtering, but instead of a thank you, this little brat gives them a no comment when asked where he came from. Suyu is ready to throw hands. You won't even thank the person who saved you. She snaps, her forehead vein practically popping. But then a devious light glints in her eyes. She notices the herbs in his basket and realizes this kid might be her ticket to the Demoness. She starts interrogating him, guessing that he lives in a hidden paradise with an extraordinary woman. The boy's shocked face tells her everything she needs to know. To soften him up, she lures him in with the irresistible smell of her special grilled fish. She even makes sure the first bite goes to her beloved Weixi, showing off their bond. The boy takes one bite and his soul practically leaves his body from the flavor. Suyu smirks, offering to teach him her secret recipe if he takes them to meet his master. The kid agrees instantly, not realizing the secret recipe is just store-bought 5-spice powder she has hidden in her bag. What a little scammer. The boy Yulong explains that he fell off a cliff while looking for a 9-death revival herb for his master. Suyu promises to help him gather the herbs so they can all head back to his place. When Yulong tries to lean on Weixi for support because he's injured, Suyu gets super protective and shoves a spear between them. Men and women shouldn't touch each other so casually, she declares before immediately clinging to Weixi herself, claiming she's too tired to walk alone. As they reach a massive vertical cliff, Yulong points to the top where the herbs grow. The old stone steps have all crumbled away, leaving them with a death-defying climb. Suyu tells them to stay put while she handles the heavy lifting. Our girl then proceeds to pull off some straight-up wuxia movie moves, using a long bamboo pole to vault herself up the side of the cliff. With a massive snap, the pole breaks, but she uses the momentum to launch herself onto the ledge. Down below, Yulong is losing his mind. She just jumped up there like it was nothing. Suyu grabs the herbs, but she feels a strange sensation from the mountain peak. Ignoring Weixi's calls to come back down, she's driven by a gut feeling that there's something more up there. As she continues her climb, Weixi explains to the boy that Suyu is incredibly cunning and will use any trick to get what she wants. She only reveals her true self at the most critical moments, Weixi says softly. Finally, panting and drenched in sweat, Suyu hauls herself over the final ledge. Her eyes widen as she looks out over the hidden plateau. Hidden atop the Forbidden Mountain, she finds the legendary Tinglin School, its ancient rooftops stretching out before her like a silent, waiting trap. Our girl finally reaches her destination, but it's not exactly the warm welcome she was hoping for. The Tinglin School, she whispers, gazing up at the weathered sign. This place is a total wreck, and she can't help but wonder if it's actually the home of the legendary Demoness. As she climbs the crumbling steps, the scale of the destruction hits her. What happened here? She asks, looking at the skeletal remains of the architecture. She reaches out to touch deep gouges in the stone walls. These aren't just random cracks, they're bullet holes from a hutchong, an old-school firearm. Our heroine realizes a massive battle took place here, and the evidence is everywhere. Scattered across the courtyard is broken armor and an imperial sword. The wind whistles through the empty halls as she pieces it together. Why did this school fight against imperial soldiers? She wonders, staring at the arrows and discarded helmets littering the ground. The place feels like a graveyard for a forgotten war. Creaking beams groan under the weight of history as she steps further inside. She enters a massive hole and stops dead in her tracks. Standing before her is a gargantuan statue, but something is very wrong. That statue is huge, but why doesn't it have a head? She gasps. Suddenly it clicks. Wait, she shouts, her eyes widening in realization. She remembers the stone head she found earlier next to that stele in the forest. This whole school was treated with absolute cruelty, and she wants to know why. As she looks at the murals lining the walls, she notices a recurring theme. Every person depicted has striking golden eyes, and they are all bowing to one woman. They practically revered her, our girl notes, studying the beautiful, divine figure in the paintings. Could this be the same Demoness everyone is so afraid of? She doesn't look like the monster Hulu described at all. Looking at the headless statue one last time, our girl bows her head. Cayenne, are you the teacher I'm looking for? We cut back to the present, where Brother Mu is absolutely beaming because they managed to gather all the herbs. Our girl and her companion, Lu Wei, are walking back through the forest with the kid. Wei watches our heroine closely, sensing her internal struggle. I'm starting to understand why you didn't want to tell me anything, our girl admits. After seeing those ruins, it's clear the Demoness has every reason to despise the Imperial Court. She feels guilty for dragging Weixi into such a dangerous situation. But Weixi just gives her a soft, reassuring look. It'll be okay, she says. When you ask to become her apprentice, just say whatever you feel is right. She promises that as long as she's there, she won't let the Demoness kill her. Our girl offers a small, nervous smile. Thank you, Weixi. They finally arrive at a humble bamboo hut tucked away in the misty mountains. Brother Mu tells them to wait while he fetches his master. The tension in the air is thick enough to cut with a knife as they wait outside. The kid freezes, looking terrified as a dark, imposing figure emerges from the shadows. It's her, the Demoness. She looks sickly with strange cracks running down her neck. Why did it take you so long to return? She demands, her voice cold and sharp. Every step she takes feels like a thud against our girl's heart. The Demoness towers over them, her presence absolutely suffocating. Brother Mu quickly explains that he slipped into a stream and these two saved him. The Demoness looms over our heroine, her face shrouded in shadow. Overwhelmed by the raw power, our girl and Weixi drop to their knees. Cayenne, my name is Suyu, our girl cries out, her voice trembling. She introduces Weixi as her sworn sister and apologizes for the intrusion. The pressure of the Demoness's Kai is so intense she can hardly breathe. She begs to be taken on as a disciple, but the Demoness isn't having it. I have long since withdrawn from the world, she says coldly. With my broken body, I am no longer fit to take on apprentices. Please leave. She turns to walk away, leaving our girl desperate. Come on, say something, she tells herself, her heart racing. She needs to say the right thing to make her stay. Taking a massive gamble, she shouts, is it because your school experienced some kind of misfortune? The Demoness stops instantly, the air turns frigid. What did you say? She hisses, turning back with a look that could kill. Brother Mu looks like he's about to faint from the sheer terror of the moment. Weixi remains calm, but our girl is sweating bullets. She doubles down, explaining that she saw the ruins of the Tinglan school and was moved by what she saw. She tells the Demoness that despite the tragedy, she can tell she was a remarkable teacher who was loved by her students. She begs again, offering to do any chore, laundry, cooking, holding water, just to be taught. Brother Mu even chimes in, saying her grilled fish was super tasty, which earns him a stern look. The Demoness stares her down. Why have you come to seek knowledge from me? She asks. Our girl's eyes burn with determination. My only purpose in this world is to defeat the one person no one believes can be beaten. The Demoness scoffs, such arrogance. She refuses again, but this time she doesn't just walk away. A terrifying red aura erupts around her. Run, Brother Mu screams, but it's too late. The Demoness's eyes glow a piercing, predatory gold. In a flash of movement too fast for the human eye, she lunges. Our girl doesn't even have time to react. A massive wham echoes through the mountains as a palm strike connects with her chest. You can literally hear her ribs snapping. Our heroine is sent spiraling through the air like a rag doll. She slams into the ground with a sickening thud. She coughs up blood, the world spinning around her. It feels like she's already broken several of my ribs, she groans internally. The Demoness stands over her, completely unimpressed. Draw your sword, she commands. She tells our girl that if she fights back, she might live. If she doesn't, she's dead. Her golden eyes bore into our heroine's soul. You will not survive my next strike, she warns. Our girl looks at her sword, her mind racing. If she draws it, she might survive the hit, but she'll lose the chance to be a disciple. She decides to take the ultimate risk to prove her sincerity. Instead of reaching for her blade, she clasps her hands in a respectful bow. I would never draw my sword against you, she declares. The Demoness's expression darkens, then you have chosen death. She unleashes another devastating strike, her hand moving like a blur of lethal energy. She charges forward with terrifying speed. Weixi watches in horror as the attack closes in. The impact is so powerful the ground shatters and boulders are sent flying. Dust and debris fill the air as a nearby cliff face literally collapses from the force of the blow. As the birds scatter in a panic, the question remains, did our girl's gamble pay off or did she just throw her life away? Our girl Weixi isn't just a pretty face, she's got nerves of steel. While the mysterious, yellow-eyed woman looks like she's about to lose it, Weixi steps right into the line of fire. A sharp fish echoes as a blade grazes her cheek, drawing blood. Suyu's heart nearly stops as she sees her sister injured. Are you crazy? She screams, lunging forward to protect her. Why did you jump in front of me? If their opponent hadn't pulled back her strike at the last second, Weixi would have been history. But our heroine just gives a calm, slightly snarky smile, claiming she knows a bit of martial arts herself. Suyu isn't buying it, laughing through her tears because she knows Weixi wouldn't stand a chance in a real fight. The tension is thick enough to cut with a knife as the mysterious woman stares them down. Suyu stands her ground, shielding her sister. Kayanbei, my sister has nothing to do with this, she declares, trying to take the heat. The woman's glowing eyes finally fade back to a normal, tired hue. Weixi notices the change and realizes the immediate danger might be over. She reaches into her robes and pulls out a small gourd. Kayanbei, please listen to me, she says, her voice steady. She drops a bombshell. If you agree to take my sister as your student, I will agree to treat your illness. Turns out our girl is actually a witch doctor. Suyu is absolutely floored. Since when was her sister a witch doctor? Weixi explains that the legendary 9-death revival herb isn't the miracle cure people think it is. It only treats symptoms, not the root cause. Looking at the strange cracks running along the woman's skin, Weixi diagnoses her on the spot. Her life force is severely damaged, making it impossible to recover her cat. She offers her a special rejuvenation medicine to repair the damage and keep her from being bedridden. The woman is skeptical. You say you're a witch doctor, is this your witchcraft? She asks coldly. Weixi doubles down on the drama, claiming she used divination and her sister's birthday to calculate that this master would recover if she took the medicine. Suyu is in the background thinking, asterisk, her ability to talk nonsense is even better than mine back at the brothel. Asterisk. To prove the medicine isn't poison, Weixi tosses a pill into her own mouth and swallows it without hesitation. She admits it was intended for emergencies, but she's 80% sure it'll work. Suyu realizes Weixi is just doing this to reassure the master. The master examines the pill, it looks and smells safe enough, and she figures her body can handle any poison anyway. She tosses the pill back. Almost instantly, the miracle happens. The cracks on her neck and arms begin to fade right before their eyes. And it worked. The master's spirit feels stronger than ever, which honestly makes Suyu a little nervous. If she wanted to kill them now, they'd be doomed. The woman turns to Weixi, asking where she got such potent medicine. Weixi just gives a cheeky thumbs up, saying she found it in a cart but knows how to make more. The verdict is in, you pass, I will accept you as my disciple, the master announces. Suyu is so happy she's practically crying, though her excitement is cut short when she accidentally hurts her broken ribs. But there's a catch. There are 3 conditions. First, Suyu must be prepared to face death. Second, she is never allowed to question her master. And third, you must give me that which you treasure most. Suyu freezes. What does she treasure most? She looks at Weixi, and her heart starts racing as Weixi stares back with an unreadable expression. The master looks on, confused by the sudden romantic tension. Suyu eventually decides she can't hand over her sister, so she offers up Yulong, the sword that belonged to her father before he died. It's her most precious possession, and she entrusts it to her new master. Suyu kowtows, offering her deepest respects to her new mentor, Shihao. They're shown to a dusty, single room for the night. Shihao tells them to tidy up and get clean, even having someone boil water for a bath. Suyu is worried about her ribs, but she can't refuse an order from her new master. Weixi offers to help her since she's still injured. Just then, Shihao approaches Suyu. Stand still, this will only hurt a little, she says. Before Suyu can react, bam. Shihao strikes her right in the chest. Suyu hits the floor, gasping in agony. She's crying, feeling like she's being torn apart, wondering why her master would hit her right where her ribs were already broken. But then the pain vanishes. She jumps up, realization dawning on her, her ribs aren't broken anymore. Shihao explains that she never actually broke Suyu's ribs earlier. She used a technique called hand that twists muscle and bone to merely displace them. She was just testing Suyu's sincerity. Our girl is so relieved she thanks her master, who actually looks a little shy about the gratitude. As the master leaves, it's time for that bath. Since there's only one tub, the sisters decide to get in together to save time. The water is warm and the atmosphere is finally peaceful. Weixi helps wash Suyu's hair, but her face is bright red. She explains that she let the master test Suyu because she knew Suyu's sincerity was her greatest strength. Only a sincere heart can move another sincere heart, she whispers. Suyu wonders about Shihao's past. Being hunted by the imperial court must have made her so distrustful. But now that they're master and disciple, Suyu decides not to pry. Meanwhile, outside, Shihao unsheathes the sword Suyu gave her. As she looks at the blade, her eyes widen in shock. She recognizes this sword. She knows exactly where Suyu came from, and this revelation is about to change everything. Shihao runs a careful hand over the cold steel of the blade, her eyes narrowing as she recognizes the craftsmanship. Isn't this? She whispers. She remembers Suyu mentioned this sword belonged to her father, and a heavy realization sets in. Staring at her own reflection in the metal, Shihao wonders if our girl is truly that man's flesh and blood. She stands there lost in thought, letting out a long, dramatic hum that fills the room. Little brother Mu is busy over the stove, and he's honestly a bit confused by his master's sudden change of heart. I took in 2 complete strangers, and yet you seem quite happy about it. Why? She asks him. Mu just smiles, stirring the pot as it bubbles away. I've gained 2 more wonderful sisters, he chirps happily. Who wouldn't be happy about that? Shihao stays silent for a beat, the weight of her decision settling on her shoulders. She realizes the kid is right. She's already accepted them as her disciples. With a sharp snap, she sheathes the sword, deciding to let fate take its natural course. Brother Mu, make sure this sword is stored properly, she commands, and the boy is all too eager to please. Suddenly, voices echo through the courtyard calling out for Shihao. Our girl and her bestie Weixi have finally finished changing into their new training gear. They come running out looking like proper martial artists, though Suyu still has those adorable little fangs peeking out. We've finished changing, should we get started now? Suyu asks, her eyes sparkling with excitement. They look ready to take on the world, but Shihao just gives them a cool, knowing look. Let's eat first, she decides, because you can't cultivate on an empty stomach. As night falls and the moon rises over the thatched roof, it's time for the real test. Shihao stands in the courtyard, her presence commanding. Suyu, let me see you channel your kai, she orders. Our girl takes a deep breath, focusing all her energy into her palms. Suddenly, a massive whoosh echoes through the bamboo as she releases a burst of power. Shihao is actually impressed. Not bad, your kai is quite strong for someone so young, she admits. But then her expression shifts. But something's not right. She reaches out and pinches Suyu's shoulder, making our poor heroine yelp in pain. Shihao explains that Suyu's kai is obstructed and isn't flowing properly. Suyu's face falls as the trauma of her past resurfaces. She remembers the day she fled Wangai City, when a prince ordered her to be drugged with a forbidden substance to block her powers. Even though she regained some strength at the brothel, she's still not fully recovered. Shihao tells her not to worry, promising that the teachings of Tinglin will eventually reopen her meridians. She explains that as she trains, her eyes will even begin to emit a golden light, allowing her to see a much wider world. Suyu is ready to start immediately, but Shihao warns her that her own strength isn't what it used to be. For now, I can only demonstrate the teachings of Tinglin once, she says, her shadow looming large. She strikes a pose, and suddenly the entire area is bathed in a celestial green light. Remember it well, she commands as a shockwave of energy rips through the air. Suyu is absolutely floored by the display. From the porch, Weixi and Mu watch in awe, noting that the master seems much more lively tonight. Weixi whispers that her rejuvenation medicine must really be working. She's determined to gather more herbs tomorrow to help Shihao recover even faster. As Suyu continues to practice her forms late into the night, Weixi watches her with a soft, adoring smile. She's just so glad to see Suyu happy again. Suyu notices her watching and walks over, leaning in dangerously close. I'm lucky you were here with me, Suyu whispers, her voice low and sweet. She tells Weixi that the past few days have been the happiest of her life. And then it happens, the moment we've all been waiting for, they lean in for a kiss. But wait, Weixi wakes up screaming, her heart hammering against her ribs. She's tangled in her blankets, sweating bullets. It was just a dream, she gasps, realization sinking. She looks over at the sleeping Suyu, feeling incredibly guilty. Bathing together, sleeping together, and now I'm having such a presumptuous dream. How sinful, she thinks, her face turning beet red. She wonders if she's seeing the future or if it's just her own wild fantasies. She tries to shake the thoughts away. Noticing that Suyu is so dedicated, she's literally hugging her martial arts manual in her sleep. Our girl is out cold the second her head hit the pillow. Weixi can't help but stare, thinking Suyu looks like a fairy in a painting. She gently tries to pull the book away so her friend can sleep comfortably. But Suyu lets out a sleepy moan and suddenly grabs Weixi, pulling her into a tight embrace. Stop squirming, Suyu mumbles in her sleep, dreaming that she's caught a giant slippery fish. Weixi is left pinned there, blushing furiously and wondering how on earth she's supposed to get any sleep now. Morning comes far too early and a sleep-deprived Weixi drags herself out of bed. She leaves a note for Suyu and sneaks out into the misty dawn. Shihao watches her from the window, wondering what she's up to. Weixi is on a mission to find the key ingredient for the master's medicine, morning dew. She treks through the dense forest, heading toward the ruins of the Tinglin school. She reaches a treacherous rocky area near a waterfall and begins to climb, but her exhaustion catches up with her and her hand slips. I'm doomed, she cries as she falls toward the rushing water. Suddenly, a dark blur lunges forward. Shihao catches her just in time, pulling her into a secure princess-style carry. You shouldn't rush things, the master scolds gently. Back at the hut, Suyu wakes up to a frantic wake-up from the master. She tumbles out of bed, realized Weixi is missing, and runs outside in her pajamas, screaming for her bestie. She finds them just returning, and Shihao gives her a stern look for running out undressed. Shihao announces that from now on, Weixi will train alongside Suyu so she can protect herself. Suyu is absolutely thrilled. This means Weixi and I are from the same school. She cheers, pulling her friend into a massive hug. The next phase of training takes them to the seashore. Shihao explains that water has no fixed form and neither do their techniques. She tells them that from now on, the sea is their training ground. Brother Mu is forced to watch from the sidelines. Shihao explains that their style is extremely yin, which is why she only accepts women as students. She warns them that when a man tried to learn it once, his body became old and ragged within months. Suyu, being her snarky self, jokes about how having something down there makes such a big difference. Shihao snaps at her to stay focused. She emphasizes that the secret to their power lies in the spirit, not just the body. You must be like a surging wave, forcing all your enemies to break before you, she declares. Suyu asks how long it will take to master, and when Shihao says 3 years, our girl complains it's too long. Xiao is clearly losing her patience. And so, the brutal daily grind begins. They spend hours squatting in the surf and running through the waves carrying heavy logs. Suyu starts training by splitting thick logs with her bare hands. Weixi watches her friend's bruised hands, asking if it hurts. It's fine, this is the best way to toughen my body, Suyu insists, her eyes burning with determination. She's pushing herself to the absolute limit, wanting to learn everything as fast as possible. Weixi tries to tell her to slow down, but Suyu won't hear it. I can't slow down, she thinks, her face set in a grim mask. She knows she can't afford to waste a single moment. Only by becoming stronger can she finally avenge her family. The blood debt from her past is a weight that never lets her rest. Xiao just watches them, noting that at least they've provided Brother Mu with plenty of firewood for the stove. Suyu and Weixi head back, exhausted and stinging from the workout, but ready for whatever comes next. Our girl is pushing her limits, sprinting through the bamboo forest as the sun barely begins to peak. Weixi watches from afar, worried sick, as she thinks about how our heroine is getting up earlier every day, fearing her body simply won't hold out. Our girl reaches the edge of the crashing waves, determined to level up. She ignores the warnings and drops into a meditative stance, ready to defy the odds. Even though Shihao told her she wasn't ready for the next stage, our stubborn girl decides she's going to channel her Kai using the manual anyway. She's convinced she can handle it, focusing every ounce of energy into her meridians. As the waves crash against the rocks, she forces the energy into her left arm, desperate to open her blocked channels. She thinks this is the key to her breakthrough. But as the energy surges, someone is watching her from the shadows. A figure stands at the water's edge as the power begins to spiral out of control. Swirling white energy erupts around our girl. She bites her lip, the strain becoming unbearable. Suddenly, a blinding flash erupts. Her eyes fly open, glowing with an eerie, intense golden light. Did it work? She whispers, her vision transformed. Jie, stop, Weixi screams, rushing toward her. Our girl looks over, confused by the panic in her friend's voice. But as she looks down, her heart drops, her arm is turning into cracked gray stone. She lets out a blood-curdling scream. She remembers Shihao's warning that the golden light would allow her to see a wider world. And she realizes her master was right. Her vision is flooded with a different reality, but her arm is completely unresponsive. She touches the cold, hard surface of her own skin in disbelief. Why can't I move it? It's like it's turned to stone, she cries. Suddenly, the world shifts into a nightmare. Weixi's voice calls out, but the air turns a deep, bloody red. A massive wave of blood towers over her. From the depths of the crimson water, a terrifying gurge sounds. Skulls begin to surface in the bloody tide. I can't see you, our girl screams into the void. Skeletal figures emerge from the depths, reaching for her. Blood splatters everywhere as the hallucinations turn violent. A skeletal hand grabs her as she screams for her sister. She finally snaps out of it as Shihao, her master, rushes out of the house. Weixi is carrying our unconscious heroine, tears streaming down her face. Shihao looks grim, demanding to know what happened. She lost control of her Kai, she's unconscious and badly injured. Weixi sobs. They need to act fast to save her. Shihao barks orders to Brother Mu to boil water immediately. As Shihao looks down at our girl's broken state, her heart skips a beat. The sight triggers a traumatic memory. She sees a field of her former students, all dead and bloodied. The trauma is almost too much to bear. Shihao gently touches our girl's head. Didn't I tell you not to rush things? She mutters, her voice full of regret. As our heroine begins to wake, Shihao admits she only told her to face death so she would understand the danger. Shihao looks away, her eyes filled with a hidden pain. If you die, who am I going to teach? She asks softly. She strokes our girl's hair, acting more like a mother than a master. Why didn't you listen to me? She whispers. Shihao turns her back, hiding her face. I really can't bear to collect the corpses of my students again, she admits, leaving the girl stunned. Later, as our girl is being bandaged up, she is overcome with guilt. Weixi, I'm so sorry. I caused you a lot of trouble because of my recklessness. She cries. Weixi tells her to stay still while she finishes the bandages. She's just relieved they got there in time. Our girl flexes her hand, amazed she hasn't lost the limb. Weixi asks why she didn't respond to her calls, and our girl admits she could hear her, but her vision was totally gone. She realizes now that her body simply wasn't ready for that kind of power. She wants to apologize to Shihao, but Weixi tells her the master has gone into seclusion. Our girl is shocked. Weixi explains that Shihao was likely deeply upset by the incident. They decide to leave her alone until she's ready. Inside her room, Shihao sits in silence, meditating on her past. Brother Mu tries to bring her food, but the do not disturb sign stays up for 3 days. Mu complains that the seclusion is just an excuse to hide. I heard that, Shihao snaps from inside, sending the boy running. Mu tells the girls that if she doesn't come out soon, he'll have to get his aunt's help. Your aunt, they ask. Mu explains his aunt is the only one who can handle Shihao's moods. She teaches a special script called Nashu in a nearby village. They travel to the village and see a group of women studying. Mu says his aunt is a noble woman who risks everything to teach other women to read and write. We finally see her, the elegant Chu Shien. She once saved Shihao's life when she was on the verge of death. The girls bow deeply to the teacher. Mu insists she's the only one who can cure Shihao's bad mood. Shien looks them over with a sharp eye. Later, our girl asks Weixi if there's anything they should know before talking to her. Weixi reminds her that since our girl can see the future, she should be careful. Our girl is nervous about making a mistake. Weixi warns that the teacher has a sharp tongue and a lot of pride. They realize they'll have to do whatever she wants to get her help. As the Nushu lesson ends, the teacher stands to leave. The students bid her a respectful goodbye. She turns to face our duo. Teacher, our girl begins. Don't act so familiar with me, Shien cuts her off coldly. You are no students of mine. She introduces herself with an air of superiority. Our girl introduces herself as Suyu and her friend as Weixi. We've come to ask you to persuade our Shihao to come out of seclusion, they plead. They explain that Shihao is injured and refusing to eat. Shien feigns indifference, calling Shihao a brat. Why should I help you coax her out? She asks, but our girl is prepared. She reveals a cart full of the finest pink plum wine. Xian's eyes immediately turn into hearts. Why didn't you bring it out sooner? She demands, her pride melting away. Our girl smirks, knowing she's found the teacher's weakness. Xian takes a deep sniff of the brew, clearly impressed. She agrees to help, but on one condition: they have to drink with her until she's satisfied. They sit down for a heavy drinking session. Our girl downs the first bowl as a punishment for upsetting Shihao. Shien is impressed by her tolerance. Our girl explains that Shihao is terrified of losing more students. Shien pauses, her mind drifting to Shihao's secret past as a legendary warrior. She knows Shihao doesn't want to remember those days. She tells the girls how she found Shihao burying her disciples after a massacre. Shihao was barely alive and Shien rescued her. The teacher then explains the importance of Nushu, a secret script for women. She shows them her work, a Nushu version of the Book of Changes. A mountain may not bend, but a river will, she says, encouraging them to find different ways to learn. Suyu is genuinely amazed by the teacher's wisdom. They share a toast. As the wine flows, Weixi starts to get a bit tipsy. Suyu tries to take over the drinking to protect her friend. Our girl boasts she can handle 1,000 cups. Shien watches them closely. You two aren't related by blood, right? She asks. She wants to know how they met. The girls exchange a knowing smile and reveal, we met in a brothel. Shien is so shocked she spits her wine right in their faces. To be continued. Excuse my manners, Shien says, her eyes narrowing as she reflects on the weight of the conversation. She admits she didn't expect to find herself in a place like this, but our girl, the dark-haired Suyu, isn't holding back. I once spent over 3 years working in a brothel, she reveals, her voice steady despite the heavy memory. It was Weixi, our silver-haired heroine, who finally freed her from that life. Back in Yunju, Weixi was actually the head of the renowned Lu family dye house. But because society is trash and women weren't allowed to run businesses, she had to disguise herself as a man. Eventually, her identity was discovered, so she left the business to someone she trusted, and the two of them set off to travel the world together. During their journey, they became sworn sisters, sharing a bond thicker than blood. Shien looks skeptical, her gaze lingering on Suyu. Pardon my bluntness, she says, but you don't strike me as someone who has spent that long living in a brothel. Our girl just blushes, leaning her head affectionately against Weixi. Shien explains that Suyu treats people with such grace and restraint that it's hard to imagine her in such a rough environment. She uses a metaphor comparing life to brewing wine. If you mixed even a single jujube into it, it would still change the taste, she muses, implying that Suyu's character should have been tainted. You're very lucky, Shien concludes. Suyu's expression darkens, the luck comment clearly hitting a nerve. Weixi immediately steps in to protect her sister. If you haven't lived her life, then please do not judge her choices, she warns, her eyes flashing with a protective fire. Shien quickly backs down, laughing nervously and apologizing for her big mouth. She realizes just how anxious Weixi gets whenever Suyu is involved, and honestly, it's kind of amusing to her. Suyu tries to lighten the mood, explaining that back then there was a Huakui, a top courtesan who looked after her like a little sister. Weixi is stunned. She's never heard Suyu mention this woman before. She was so kind to me while I was in that place, Suyu says softly. Shien pours more wine, leaning in close. She was a sheltered child who had lost everything after the tragedy in Wangai City. Don't be scared, the madam said. This place will be your home from now on. But as soon as she stepped inside, Suyu felt a wave of instant regret. The brothel was a chaotic mess of music, drinking, and men pawing at the girls. I think I've come to the wrong place, she stammered, turning to flee. But the massive guards, the Gigong, blocked her path. Where do you think you're going? They growled. The madam quickly shooed them away, calling Suyu a treasure she'd picked up. Suddenly, Suyu was swarmed by the other girls, all of them eager to get a look at the new arrival. They marveled at her beauty, saying she looked far too refined to be from a common household. The madam wiped the dirt from Suyu's face and asked if she had any skills. Could she play the kin, write calligraphy, or paint? Suyu panicked, realizing that if she had no talents, her life here would be a nightmare. Suddenly, a regal figure appeared at the top of the stairs. It was the Huakui. Desperate to impress, Suyu shouted, I know how. The madam clapped her hands in delight and decided to leave the girl in the Huakui's care. The top courtesan, draped in elegant red silks and jewels, told Suyu to follow her. As they walked along the moonlit balcony, the Huakui asked for her name and age. Afraid that her real name might lead enemies to her, our girl thought quickly. Inspired by the song a courtesan was singing in the background, she replied, "My name is Suyu, I'll be 16 soon." When asked how she ended up there, Suyu broke down, explaining that her entire family had been killed by an enemy. The Hyokui gently wiped Suyu's tears. She gave her a harsh reality check. "If you want a better life here, you'll have to be obedient." She explained that once you enter this place, the world considers your reputation ruined, and your only hope is for guests to buy your freedom. "Fortunately, you were born beautiful," the Hyokui said. "You're lucky." She promised to train Suyu to be the next Hyokui so that the others wouldn't trouble her. Back in the present, Suyu smiles, saying she really is lucky because meeting that noble person eventually led her to Weixi. But Weixi is spiraling internally. How is this possible? She thinks, her face pale. In all her memories of the past and future, Suyu never mentioned this Hyokui. She's carefully planned every step to prevent a future tragedy at the looming banquet, but this new variable changes everything. Shien notices Weixi looks a bit down and tries to cheer her up, but Suyu is busy bragging about how Weixi is a genius witch doctor who can even predict the future. Shien's eyes sparkle. "In that case, you should know how to read the hexagrams, right?" she asks. Suyu realizes she's led Weixi into a trap. Weixi doesn't actually know how to read fortunes, and her secret could be exposed. Weixi thinks fast. "Why don't we do something other than fortunes?" she suggests. She decides they need to do something big to confirm if the future she saw has truly changed. She challenges Shien to a writing contest using Nushu, a secret women's script. They will both write a line of text at the same time, and if Weixi can predict and match Shien's line while her back is turned, she wins. The loser has to drink a whole jar of wine. Suyu is worried since Weixi can't handle her liquor, but Weixi just gives her a confident look. They both put brush to paper. When they reveal their scrolls, the characters are absolutely identical. "All women under heaven are sisters of one family," the text reads. Shien is spooked, wondering if it's just a spooky coincidence. To seal the deal, Weixi hands Shien a pouch of silver. "I predict you'll have good luck with gambling today," she says with a mysterious smile. She's using her knowledge of the future to win Shien over for her ultimate plan. Suyu reminds them they still need to coax a woman named Shihao out of seclusion, and Shien heads off to the gambling house, promising to help them afterward. Once they're alone, Suyu notices Weixi is still acting strange. "Did you foresee something bad happening?" she asks, worried she did something to upset her. Without a word, Weixi pulls Suyu into a sudden, desperate hug. She holds her tight, her heart racing. "You didn't do anything," Weixi whispers, her voice filled with an intense hidden grief. "I'm just so scared of losing you." Don't be silly," our girl Suyu whispers, pulling Weixi into a protective embrace. She promises that she's not going anywhere, so there's no need for Weixi to be so worried. Our poor heroine is trying her best to be the pillar of strength here. "If something is bothering you, you can always talk to me, okay?" Weixi just leans into her, claiming she's just a little drunk and probably overthinking things. Suyu smiles, telling her to just lean on her and take a nap, since it'll be a while before Aunt Shien returns. "But speak of the devil and she shall appear," singing at the top of her lungs. "Suyu tilde Weixi tilde I'm back," Shien shouts, stumbling into the courtyard with a bag of goodies. She spots the two of them snuggled up and assumes they both fell asleep while she was gone. Suyu rubs her eyes, realizing their peaceful moment is officially over. Meanwhile, back at the main house, things are much more tense. One of the disciples is pacing back and forth, sweating bullets because Suyu and Weixi are so late. Suddenly, a door slams open, and Master Shihao looms in the doorway like a vengeful spirit. "Tell me the truth or I will rip out your tongue," she growls. The poor guy hits the floor faster than a sack of potatoes, squealing that the girls went to fetch Aunt Shien. Shihao doesn't look impressed, simply demanding a basin of water so she can wash up. Back on the road, Shien is bragging about her incredible luck at the gambling dens. She's clutching her winnings like a dragon guarding gold, asking Weixi when she'll win big again. "It was just this once," Weixi sighs, trying to keep the drunk woman moving. Shien laughs it off, promising that she'll have their master back to normal by tomorrow. They finally make it back to the compound, where the terrified disciple is waiting to greet them. Inside, Master Shihao is trying to scrub away the day's frustrations. There's a knock at the door and Shien peeks in with a nervous ahem, "May I come in?" Shihao's heart skips a beat, but she keeps her voice steady as she gives permission. She shoos the younger girls away, telling them to go back to their rooms because the adults have business to discuss. Once they're alone, the atmosphere shifts from tense to, well, spicy. Shien brings up the fight Shihao had with her disciples, but Shihao dismisses it, saying she knows how busy Shien is. "You don't want me here?" Shien asks, leaning in close. Before Shihao can even finish her sentence, Shien goes in for the kill, a deep, lingering kiss that says more than words ever could. Talk about a power move. After pulling away, Shien notices the scent of wine. They sit together and Shien mentions how interesting Suyu and Weixi are. One hides behind jokes, and the other is a little too clever for her own good. But then Shien drops a bombshell. Why haven't you told them? She's talking about Shihao's secret identity. Apparently, the Stern Master is actually Chang Wan, the legendary female general of the previous dynasty. Shihao just sighs, saying she'll tell them when the time is right, but for now they have better things to do than talk. Back in their room, Weixi is gently applying green medicinal paste to Suyu's scarred arms. She's worried that even though the future seems the same, the appearance of someone like Shien might change everything. Suyu is unusually quiet, which makes Weixi wonder what's on her mind. Weixi asks if the woman they met today was the same one who gave Suyu that aphrodisiac wine back in the day. Suyu shakes her head. She passed away, she says, her eyes darkening. Young Suyu was just a girl in a brothel, watching in horror as her GAE, the top courtesan, went into a difficult labor. The mama of the house was screaming at a servant, furious that the young master who knocked the girl up refused to show his face. His father had forbidden the marriage, viewing a courtesan as nothing more than a stain on his son's career. The mama didn't care about the girl's life, she was only worried about the money she was losing on the deal. The situation in the delivery room was grim. Suyu brought hot water, only to find the midwife looking devastated. The baby was too big, the bleeding wouldn't stop, and the GA was fading fast. Suyu rushes to her side, desperately lying that the young master is on his way in a fancy carriage to marry her. But GA isn't fooled. Women from the brothels never get a happy ending, she wheezes. She tells Suyu that if the baby is a boy, he'll be a servant, and if it's a girl, she'll be doomed to this life. With her final breath, she begs Suyu not to make her mistakes and to forget her. As her hand slips from Suyu's, the light leaves her eyes. Our girl is left sobbing, screaming at a god who clearly wasn't listening. After the funeral, the mama was already trying to force Suyu to take the dead girl's place. But Suyu couldn't smile anymore. Her grief triggered something inside her. Her martial arts began to return. When a handsy guest tried to touch her, she didn't just push him away, she snapped his arm like a twig. The mama was ready to sell her to the authorities, but the other girls in the brothel suddenly swarmed around her, protecting her. They revealed that the GA had asked them to look after Suyu before she died. From that day on, Suyu learned to wear a mask. She played the part of the bubbly courtesan to the world while secretly resisting every step of the way. She spent years in a daze, just waiting for someone to finally free her. Back in the present, Suyu tells Weixi that she knows the rest of the story. But when she looks up, she's shocked to see tears streaming down Weixi's face. "Why are you the one who's crying?" Suyu asks softly. Weixi looks at her with so much raw emotion it hurts. I really want to tell you," she chokes out. She leans in, her voice trembling. "Just how much I?" She stops, leaving us on the ultimate cliffhanger as she gazes into Suyu's eyes. What was she going to say? Suyu is absolutely heartbroken, tears streaming down her face as she realizes she forced Weixi to relive her darkest memories. She feels like a monster for making her friend suffer all over again. But Weixi, being the absolute gem she is, just wipes her own tears and tries to play it cool. "I haven't suffered that badly, besides it's all in the past now." She insists, even bragging about how she's a pro at setting honey traps to defend herself. Suyu isn't fully convinced, though. Internally, she's drowning in guilt for not being able to free Weixi sooner. She even admits to a dark, cold relief that the Huakui is finally dead, ensuring that women can never interfere with their lives again. Sensing her distress, Weixi reaches out and gently takes her hand. "Having you here by my side is what gives me the strength to face my pain," she whispers, thanking Suyu for finally getting her out of that hellhole. Weixi starts opening up about her past, explaining that she was never the obedient young lady her parents wanted, and she certainly wasn't going to be a pawn in some master's scheme for revenge. Suyu looks her dead in the eye and drops some major wisdom. "Before you can truly love others, you must first love yourself." This hits Weixi like a freight train because she honestly has no idea how to do that. She confesses that when she lost control of her Kai, she saw a literal mountain of corpses, including her own family. She was so obsessed with mastering her martial arts to avenge them that the darkness nearly swallowed her whole. "I don't feel like I deserve to love myself," she admits softly. Suyu isn't having any of that self-loathing talk. She grabs Weixi's shoulders, her voice firm. "The tragedy at Wangai City was not your fault," she declares. She reminds Weixi that her family wanted her to escape the chaos and live her own life, not throw it away for a revenge that might consume her body. "Learn to cherish yourself," Suyu pleads before adding the clincher, "because I cherish you." To help Weixi find herself again, Suyu tells her to close her eyes and imagine a life where none of the trauma ever happened. "What are the things you would still love?" she asks. Weixi's mind drifts to her mother's smile, her love for martial arts, and then her eyes snap open as she realizes Suyu is right there in her heart too. Suddenly, the atmosphere gets super heavy. Weixi's heart starts thumping like a drum. Suyu is leaning in so close that Weixi's face turns a bright, vivid red. Internally, Weixi is panicking, trying to convince herself this is just normal sisterly love. To break the tension, she starts rambling about how much she loves plum wine and flatbread. Suyu looks a little pained by the deflection. "Am I not included in the things you love?" she asks, sounding genuinely hurt. Weixi finally snaps and shouts, "Yes, of course you are." She admits that Suyu is the person she treasures most in the entire world. Suyu finally smiles, telling her that since a person's heart is small, she should only fill it with things she loves and live without guilt. This moment of pure acceptance finally allows Weixi to understand her martial arts. It's about slowing down and accepting who she is. But while our girls are sharing this beautiful moment, trouble is brewing in Yunju City. The authorities are handing out bounty posters with their faces on them. And wouldn't you know it, Suyu's absolute trash heap of a father recognizes her immediately. He starts screaming to the guards about how his crazy daughter burned his house down after he sold her to the brothel. The crowd is disgusted, but the guards don't care about his drama, they just want the lead. It's not just the dad either. A bunch of bitter men she beat up at the brothel start snitching too. A high-ranking official, looking like he hasn't smiled in 30 years, arrives at the brothel with an entire squad. He towers over the mama of the house, his voice dripping with cold authority as he demands, "Hand over Suyu." Mama looks like she's about to faint, wondering what kind of legendary mess our heroine has gotten herself into this time. An official of the imperial court arrives at the local establishment with a grim expression, and he isn't there for the entertainment. He's convinced a woman from this house has been conspiring with the rebels. Her name is Suyu, he says, his eyes narrowing with suspicion. Hand her over at once. He threatens to turn the entire place upside down if they don't comply. The madam, however, is a pro at playing the innocent shopkeeper card. She puts on a shocked face, sweating bullets internally while acting offended by the accusation. She thinks back to the previous night, remembering a group of suspicious, injured men who paid with heavy gold. She realizes those were the rebels, and if she gives up any info, she might be signing Suyu's death warrant. Little does the official know, the rebel captain is literally watching the whole confrontation through a tiny hole in the door. He's impressed by the madam's backbone, noting that fortunately, he's already smuggled Suyu out of the city. His men are itching to jump into the fray, but the captain holds them back. If the madam talks, he whispers, we'll turn this place into a battlefield. But the madam has been moved by our girl's words about protecting those who have reached rock bottom. She takes a deep breath and puts on her best fake smile. Come now, there's no one named Suyu here. She chirps, even as the other girls in the background look like they're about to faint from the pressure. The official isn't buying it and demands the roster. He warns her that if her name is in that book, there will be hell to pay. The madam remains calm, knowing she already scrubbed Suyu's name from the records the moment she was freed. She gestures to the building with a smirk, telling him to search to his heart's content. When the official's subordinate reports that the name isn't there, the high official's temper finally snaps. The poor subordinate suggests asking local authorities for a citywide search, but that just insults the old man's pride. Are you trying to tell me how to do my job? He growls. In a terrifying display of cruelty, he grabs the man by the face. With a sickening crush, he slams the subordinate's head into the floor, blood splattering the tiles. The entire room goes dead silent as the official stands over the bleeding man, his aura radiating pure malice. He turns his terrifying, glowing gaze back toward the madam. Tell me, he demands, his voice a low threat, where is Suyu? The madam stands her ground, despite the monster standing inches away from her. Watching from the shadows, the captain is genuinely moved. Who says the women of the brothel have no heart? He muses. He realizes he can't let the madam take the fall for this, so he orders a change of plans. They're going to draw the soldiers away to keep the establishment from being implicated. Meanwhile, at a remote hideout, our heroine wakes up to the sound of a struggle. She finds Suyu thrashing in the middle of a horrific nightmare. As Suyu settles back into a restless sleep, our heroine looks out into the darkness. She reflects on the threads of the future she can see. Every move she's made, letting Suyu say goodbye to the madam, drawing out the madam's hidden affection, has been a calculated step to weave a path to safety. All that matters, she thinks, is giving the innocent a chance to survive. The next morning, Suyu wakes up to see our girl watching over her, and she can't help but blush at how nice the view is. Our girl claims she needs to head up the mountain to gather rootless water for medicine. Suyu isn't letting her go alone, especially since our girl has a history of literally falling off mountains. I'll come with you, Suyu insists. I don't want to miss your first time reaching the summit. Suyu tenderly helps our girl put her hair up, their bond growing stronger with every quiet moment. They leave the hut as the morning mist rolls in, unaware that they're being watched by Wan from the window. The climb is grueling, but Suyu is a natural, reaching the top and offering our girl a hand to pull her up the final ledge. They make it to the summit just as the sun begins to rise, and our heroine breathes a sigh of relief when she sees no sign of pursuers in the valley below. As they collect the dew from the leaves, Suyu gets lost in thought, reciting poetry about longing for someone special. She's clearly falling hard for our heroine, and when our girl catches her staring, Suyu panics and pretends her old wound is itchy to hide her embarrassment. Our girl immediately goes into doctor mode to check the injury, but when she pulls back the bandage, her face turns pale. The marks on Suyu's arm are identical to the ones on Shihao's body. These aren't normal scars, they are the result of the forbidden Tinglin techniques. Suyu explains that her cousin once stole the secret teachings of Tinglin, and the training turned his body into a ragged mess before he disappeared. Our girl's mind starts racing as she looks at the ruins of the Tinglin school in the distance. Don't tell me, she whispers, her cousin was the one who destroyed the school. The pieces of the puzzle start falling into place, and it leads back to a terrifying memory of a man with glowing yellow eyes. The official from the brothel, the cousins, the monster, the nightmare is only just beginning. Our girl is starting to get seriously curious about Shihao's mysterious past. She knows she was a total brat before, so she decides it's time to swallow her pride and apologize for being so reckless. As she approaches, she notices the Do Not Disturb sign has finally been taken down. Has she finally come out of seclusion? She wonders, peeking through the cracked door. She quickly signals Weixi to stay quiet as they spy on the room. Inside, Shihao is giving a very private lesson on Nushu to Miss Shien. Miss Shien is totally playing the clueless student card just to get more attention, leaning in close and pouting. In that case, you need to pay your tuition upfront, Shihao says with a smirk. Our girl's eyes nearly pop out of her head, and she immediately covers Weixi's eyes to save her innocent soul. It's official, Shihao and Miss Shien have that asterisk kind of relationship. Deciding to break up the tension, our girl barges in with a loud knock. She pulls a total pro-gamer move and lies, claiming they were just out gathering medicine ingredients. She bows deeply, offering a sincere apology for her past impatience and promising to be a model student from now on. Shihao is surprisingly chill about it, noting that the open door means she's already let the grudge go. Our girl can't help herself though and teases Shihao by calling her Shinyang, basically labeling her as the teacher's wife. Miss Shien looks absolutely glowing, and our girl cheekily asks for her secret to looking so radiant. Shihao isn't having the sass today and shuts her up with a well-deserved head bonk. Later, Shihao takes Weixi for a private walk to discuss more serious matters. She wants a glimpse into the future. Will her enemy return to finish what they started? Weixi hesitates, knowing that revealing too much can mess with destiny. She finally drops the bombshell. A massive drought is coming, and that's when the enemy will strike again. She warns Shihao that they should prepare to pack up and relocate before the chaos begins. Hearing the truth actually makes Shihao's heart feel a little lighter. Weixi looks her in the eye and makes a bold promise. When that day comes, you will be restored to your full glory, and you will be unbeatable. Back at the desk, our girl is having a crisis of the heart and asks Miss Shien how she realized she liked the master. She's desperately trying to make sense of her own confusing feelings. Miss Shien sees right through her and decides to play matchmaker. She starts explaining how romance poetry is all about longing for that one special person. Immediately, our girl's mind flashes to Weixi. To help her along, Miss Shien offers to read some of the spicy poems she wrote during her days in the brothel. The verses are extremely descriptive, to say the least. Our girl is blushing like a tomato, screaming that she doesn't want to hear such indecent melodies. Wait until you fall in love, Miss Shien teases, telling her to imagine her beloved in these poems. Suddenly, the temperature in the room drops. Weixi is standing right there and drags our girl away by the collar. They end up in the woodshed, and the tension is thick enough to choke on. Weixi pins her down, looking genuinely hurt and jealous. You never read poetry to me, she whispers, but you went and read it to someone else instead. Our girl's heart is doing Olympic-level backflips as Weixi leans in close. Just when things are about to get real, Weixi pulls back, leaving our girl a stuttering mess with a mountain of firewood to chop. As she sits there alone, the truth finally hits her like a ton of bricks. She's completely fallen in love with Weixi. She starts hacking away at the wood to vent her frustration, but the suggestive poetry is still living rent-free in her head, making her work even harder to drown out the inappropriate thoughts. With spring ending, she realizes Weixi's birthday is coming up. She wants to get her the perfect gift, but she realizes that compared to everything Weixi knows about her, she barely knows anything about Weixi. Suddenly, a light bulb goes off. She finally knows exactly what to do. Our girl Weixi is being dragged through the bushes by a very mischievous-looking Suyu. Weixi is stressing out about the medicine she needs to make, but Suyu just flashes a fangy grin and tells her to relax because they are almost there. Suyu reaches out a hand, offering a moment of pure, unadulterated romance. Our poor heroine's heart does a literal backflip, and the ba-thump sound effect is practically deafening. She takes the hand, her face flushing a deep shade of oh no, she's cute. The pair shares a tender look amidst the white roses. Suyu leads her to a hidden spot by the water where a wooden swing hangs from a massive, sturdy tree. The view of the lotus pond is breathtaking. Weixi's eyes light up as she realizes what this is. Suyu tells her to sit down so she can push her, and our girl happily obliges. Suyu gives her a gentle shove, and Weixi is flying. Eventually, they both settle onto the swing together, watching the pink lotuses sway in the breeze. Suyu admits she wasn't sure what to get Weixi for her birthday, but she remembered how much she loved swings as a child. Her parents had built one for her with their own hands, and it was her favorite memory. We see a brief flashback of a tiny, chaotic Suyu being pampered by her loving parents. Back in the present, Suyu wants to share that same joy with the woman she cares about most. Weixi notices the incredible craftsmanship, The rope has been singed so it doesn't chafe her hands, and the wood is as smooth as silk. Suyu clearly spent ages working on this in secret. The two share a quiet, beautiful moment on the swing. Weixi is touched, but Suyu isn't done yet. I've actually prepared a real gift for you, she teases, pulling out a small pink parcel. Weixi is stunned. She wonders what could possibly be different from the future she's already seen. She unwraps it to find a stunning, hand-carved wooden comb. It features a pair of Mandarin ducks, a classic symbol of lifelong devotion and romantic bliss. Suyu explains she carved it during every spare second of her training, polishing it until it was perfect so it wouldn't snag Weixi's hair. Weixi clutches the comb to her chest, overwhelmed by the gesture. She tells Suyu it's the most beautiful gift she's ever received. Suyu is internally celebrating, thinking about how she went to Miss Shien for advice on the perfect gift. We get a montage of Weixi's different sides, flustered, angry, and now purely surprised. Weixi opens up about her own past, explaining that her parents were strict and only cared about rules and discipline. Her birthdays were never about her. They were just political banquets where people gave her lavish gifts to curry favor with her powerful parents. But this swing and this comb, they're the best gifts of her entire life. Suyu is so happy Weixi finally shared a piece of herself. She leans in, her gaze softening as she says she wants to get to know every single side of our heroine. They talk about being rebels who escape the fate of becoming obedient, boring young ladies. Suyu even says she wants to thank Weixi's parents just for bringing someone as wonderful as her into the world. The tension is thick enough to cut with a sword as they lean closer, their breath hitching. Just as they're about to lock lips, Brother Mu's voice booms through the trees. It's time to eat. Panicked and not wanting to be caught in a compromising position, Suyu yanks Weixi off the swing and straight into the water. They disappear with a massive splash. Brother Mu wanders over, scratching his head and wondering where the heck they went. He leaves, grumbling about them being missing. Underwater, Weixi is losing her mind because she didn't get a chance to take a breath. She's about to pass out. Suyu grabs her and pulls her close, and let's just say she finds a very creative way to share her oxygen. They float there in the blue water, locked in a passionate, life-saving embrace. When they finally crawl back onto the grass, they're both soaking wet but laughing like idiots. They collapse on the bank, catching their breaths. Suyu starts wringing out her clothes, teasing Weixi because her face is brighter than a ripe tomato. Weixi shyly admits she's never, well done that asterisk with anyone before. Suyu is shocked, teasing her that she was all talk earlier. Suyu confesses that she's only ever imagined it before. Weixi gets a little jealous, asking who she was imagining. Suyu looks her dead in the eye and says, "It's always been you." Our heroine tries to regain her older sister composure, but she's failing miserably. Suyu asks point blank if she liked it. Weixi's silence is all the answer she needs. Their hands find each other in the grass. This time there's no emergency and no Brother Mu to stop them. They share a deep, tender kiss under the shade of the trees. Every doubt in Weixi's heart is swept away as their heartbeats sync up. It feels like she's been waiting for this moment her entire life. They lie in the grass for a while, just soaking in the feeling of truly understanding each other. Weixi laughs, saying this felt a lot better than the underwater version. They share one more intimate look, before deciding they should probably head back before Brother Mu sends out a search party. From this moment on, they share a secret that belongs only to them. Back at the house, the sun is setting and a feast is waiting. Brother Mu has prepared long-life noodles for the birthday girl. The whole group sits around the table and they all watch with bated breath as Weixi takes her first bite. She declares it delicious and the whole room erupts in joy. It's a warm, rowdy, and perfect birthday dinner. Suyu and Weixi share a secret, knowing look over their tea. Meanwhile, far away in a cold, opulent palace, Weixi's mother raises a golden cup. It's her daughter's 19th birthday and she misses her terribly. She hopes that wherever Weixi is, she is safe and has someone wonderful by her side to share the joy of the day. Little does she know her daughter is doing more than just sharing joy. Back at the house, Brother Mu is stuck doing the dishes and complaining that Suyu isn't helping. That's because Suyu and Weixi are currently pinned against a wall in their room, continuing exactly where they left off at the pond. Weixi thinks to herself that Brother Mu can definitely wait a little longer. The golden roofs of the Imperial Palace shimmer under the sun, but the mood inside is anything but bright. His Majesty is approaching. A servant cries out, signaling the arrival of the big boss himself. The Emperor wastes no time being a jerk, criticizing the Empress for throwing a lavish feast when no one is attending. Is this sort of behavior befitting of someone of your station? He sneers. But our Empress isn't playing around today. She fires back, reminding him that their daughter has been missing for 3 years while he only cares about palace shame. The Emperor's excuse? He's prioritizing the stability of the realm and doesn't want word of the missing princess to leak out. Talk about a Father of the Year nominee right here. He even goes as far as to threaten her, saying if she doesn't focus on her duties, someone more capable might just replace her. Our Empress literally laughs in his face. She spent 19 years by his side, helped him seize the throne, and bore his child, only to be threatened because her beauty is fading. "I'm tired of this," she declares, basically telling him to go find some other woman to bear his heirs since he's so obsessed with his legacy. The eunuch watching them knows exactly what's up. The empress is hitting the emperor right where it hurts. Fuming, the emperor orders the eunuch to keep a close eye on her so she doesn't cause any more trouble before storming off. Once he's gone, Eunuch Hai tries to console her, but the empress is inconsolable. "She is my flesh and blood, I will always worry about her," she whispers, knowing the eunuch understands the pain of a missing loved one. We get a glimpse into Eunuch Hai's tragic past, where he was taken prisoner during a brutal war. He lives for the day he can finally strike down his enemies and avenge his family. For now, they can only wait for the right opportunity to strike back against the cold-hearted emperor. Meanwhile, the emperor is throwing a royal tantrum, ordering his commissioner to capture the rebels in 2 months or it's off with his head. Deep in the forest, far away from all that palace toxicity, our girl and her companion are just trying to gather some firewood. Little do they know, a scout has already spotted them. He says he's located the fugitives. The soldier reports to his grim-faced excellency. The official is shocked they actually fled to demon sect territory, but he's thrilled he found them so effortlessly. Back with the girls, they realize their usual path is blocked by a fallen tree and decide to take a detour, totally unaware they're walking into a trap. Archers are already in position, their bows creaking as they prepare to rain down death on our poor heroines. Suddenly, a volley of arrows whistles through the air. But when the dust settles, the arrows have only hit a discarded basket of wood. Our girls have vanished. Where'd they go? A soldier asks, only to have our girl poke him in the head with a sickle. "It's suddenly so lively around here," she teases. Before the soldier can even react, he gets a face full of foot. The official's eyes widen in horror as he realizes the girls have become disciples of the Demoness, showing off some terrifying new skills. The girls are a whirlwind of destruction, cutting through the soldiers like they're nothing more than practice dummies. Our girl stands tall, mocking the official. "I believe this is the first time we've met," she says with a dangerous glint in her eyes. "Seize them," the official screams, refusing to be humiliated by 2 young women. Our girl's companion, Weixi, is actually excited to put their new Tinglan Sutra skills to the test in a real fight. They launch into the air, moving with a grace and speed that leaves the soldiers spinning. One soldier gets hit with a technique that literally makes flowers explode from his face. Talk about a blooming headache. Another soldier is suddenly wrapped in thorny vines, screaming in sharp pain as the girls' teamwork proves to be flawlessly lethal. The official realizes he can't win against them together, so he decides to play dirty and target the weaker one first. He catches Weixi off guard, letting out a brutal slash that sends her crashing to the ground. As he looks at our heroine, he realizes she looks strangely familiar now that she's in women's clothing. Our girl rushes to her friend's side, her blood boiling as she calls him a thief who stole their master's techniques. The official smirks, revealing that his loyal warriors are willing to use a forbidden technique that drains their life force for a massive power boost. The soldiers suddenly age decades in seconds, their eyes glowing with a desperate, suicidal energy. Our girl tells Weixi to stay back and not strain herself. She's taking the lead now. Back at the cottage, their master senses the strange Kai in the forest and decides to go find her girls before things get out of hand. She tells her other student to stay home, flashing a mysterious smile that says she knows exactly how messy this is about to get. Back at the battlefield, the official tries to get our girl to surrender, but she isn't having it. "You either win or you die," she shouts. She launches a devastating kick, but the official is surprisingly resilient. He's genuinely impressed, admitting that no demon sect disciple he's ever faced can compare to her raw power. Then he pulls out a secret weapon, a blue butterfly ornament. "Perhaps you'll recognize this," he asks. Our girl freezes. "Mama," she gasps, recognizing her mother's precious keepsake. Weixi screams that it's a fake and a trick, but the psychological damage is already done. The official doubles down, claiming he's thrown everyone she cares about in prison and that she should surrender if she wants them to live. But he pushed her too far. "I've had enough," our girl whispers, her eyes glowing with a terrifying golden light. She realizes there's only one way to make these people stop once and for all, and the official is about to find out exactly why you never mess with a girl who has nothing left to lose. Our girl Weixi is deep in her feelings, looking absolutely stoic while lost in thought. She's got that "I'm about to start a revolution" look in her eyes as she stares at the map of the empire. Suddenly, the princess appears out of nowhere, asking, "What's on your mind?" Our heroine nearly jumps out of her skin before immediately dropping to one knee. "It's an honor to be visited by your highness," she stammers, but the princess isn't having any of that formal nonsense. She leans in close like real close, whispering that they're all alone. The tension is thick enough to cut with a spirit sword, and Weixi finally gives in, sweeping the princess off her feet. The princess playfully teases her, asking if princess is really the best name for her now. She suggests Mei or even better, "my wife." And then it finally happens, a kiss that's been lifetimes in the making. After the world stops spinning, the princess asks what was making Weixi look so serious earlier. Weixi sighs, reminding her that the attack on the imperial city starts tomorrow, and she can't stop thinking about Shihao's warning. We flash back to a battered Shihao, covered in blood and looking like she just crawled out of a nightmare. Back then, the princess tried to hold her back, screaming, "Once you start killing, there's no turning back." But Shihao just gave her a sad, chilling smile and ordered the attack. The enemy soldiers were laughing, thinking they had the upper hand. That is, until they saw the silhouette of a woman walking calmly toward them through the leaves. The enemy leader's face turns pale as a ghost when he realizes who it is. It's Shihao, and she isn't just carrying a sword, she's got a whole bag of find out strapped to her back. The soldiers start screaming, "It's the Demoness," as they realize the injuries that should have crippled her didn't even slow her down. She looks absolutely terrifying, her presence alone making the air turn cold. "Catch," she shouts, tossing a heavy object toward Weixi. It's her sword, Yulong, but it looks different. Shihao reveals she's reforged the blade, making it even more lethal than before. Then comes the big lore drop. Shihao reveals she was once the legendary General Feng Huan. She tells them she never wanted to be an enemy of Weixi's father, the king, but she was betrayed by her own cousin. That snake stole her martial arts manual and gave it to the usurper, Zhu Wucheng. The cousin, who is now the old man leading the enemy troops, starts screeching like a wounded animal, blaming Shihao for ruining his career. He screams that she deserves to die, but Shihao's eyes just glow with a terrifying golden light. We see a glimpse of the night the Tinglan school was burned to the ground. Shihao was left sitting in the ashes of her home, holding the bodies of her fallen disciples. Back in the present, the cousin is still running his mouth, calling her inhuman. He thinks he's won because she's on the ground, bleeding. He starts bragging that the whole world will know his name for beating her. Shihao just starts laughing, a cold, jagged sound. "No one's ever going to give a damn about who you are," she spits, looking him dead in the eye. He tries to finish her off, stomping on her head and acting like a total coward. He lets her live just so she can watch him become famous. Savage move. Shihao laughs again, telling him that after all these years, she's never once heard his name mentioned on the streets. "Ouch, someone get this man some ice for that burn." Enraged, he orders his men to eradicate her. Shihao tells our girls to stay back, insisting, "This is my fight." She unleashes her kai, and it's so massive it takes the form of a literal beast looming over the battlefield. She's not just a warrior, she's a force of nature. With one massive strike, she shatters the enemy's weapons like they were made of glass. She goes full Demoness mode, crushing everyone in her path with her heavy cudgels. The explosion of power is so intense it clears the entire forest. Our girl Weixi finally understands why the world is so terrified of her master. Shihao is a woman who can cut through 10,000 men like she's mowing grass. The treacherous cousin is left crawling in the dirt, begging for mercy and claiming he always admired her. Shihao looks down at him with pure disgust. "Are those your last words?" she asks coldly. Asterisk crack, asterisk, and just like that, the trash has been collected. As the dust settles, Shihao sighs, it's finally over. She worries that the girls will be afraid of her now that they've seen her true self. But our girls are ride or die. They run up to her, eyes shining with respect for the famous General Feng Huan. Weixi isn't scared, she's motivated. She tells Shihao that her goal is to make the emperor pay for his crimes with his blood. Shihao just pulls out some shovels and tells them they need to bury the bodies first. "Watch closely," she says as they stand over the graves. "This is what revenge looks like." Later, while washing the blood off their hands in a stream, Weixi realizes she finally knows the path she needs to take. The princess asks her to venture out into the wider world together. But here's the kicker, the princess has a secret that would change everything. In her internal monologue, she reveals she's actually the daughter of Weixi's greatest enemy. Not only that, she's been reincarnated 8 times and is possessed by a cat spirit, all to ensure Weixi lives a happy life. Talk about a plot twist. She wonders if Weixi would still love her if she knew the truth. But for now, they hold hands, promising to stay by each other's side forever. Weixi gives her a sweet kiss on the cheek, telling her she loves her as they prepare to face whatever storms the future holds together.